Oh, welcome in. It is the halftime show. High noon here on your Thursday on the game. Tyler Head, Captain Dave, waiting the usual late arrival of Terry Ford. I hear him. That's the funny thing. You know, these, like, walls and stuff are supposed to be soundproof, but before he comes in the door, I can actually hear him walking in. You know what I mean? You same way, Dave?
He's a loud man.
Terry can be loud, but it helps us know when he's coming.
That's right. Dave,
So,
I'm here.
like, when he gets off the elevator, I'm very aware when he's walking in saying hi to the security desk and all that kind of stuff. So I get a pretty good gauge of how long it's going to be until he actually comes in the studio.
I cut that quick today.
I
said, "Hey, Wes, how you doing?"
Made it within the first
Said
minute.
to security, my security buddy, "How you doing?" She's doing all right. You always make friends with the people who protect you.
By the way, is she ever going to get a day off?
No, God love her. She is. I'm gonna tell you, man. She's always working.
She's a hard worker.
Always working. She was, what was it, Easter weekend? She had to work Easter weekend because they didn't have enough staff. She was in here Easter weekend.
She's a grinder, man.
She is, man. You know, tell you, we could use her here.
She works almost as much as Tyler Head does.
You know what? Her and I could compare hours, actually.
I tell you what, honestly, if you ever sat down and did your hourly, you'd cry uncontrollably.
Well, that's the funny thing, and I was, a couple of months ago, had to start logging my hours working, and if I logged the actual hours I did to prepare for the next day, I don't think corporate will like that too much.
I said that once when this whole corporate thing came up. I'm like, you do understand that we pretty much do a lot of work that you don't like hourly, like not when we're on the air, but when we're off the air, we do a lot of work too.
I don't go home and goof off from 3:30 until midnight.
Oh, right, or till the next day when I come back in.
Right,
it's really funny. It's like
this isn't your typical 9 to 5. Believe me.
I always said if we were, and again, trust me, we're not tarring roofs, we're not curing disease, but there's a lot of preparation and study involved in this job.
Yeah, no,
and some backroom things we have to do behind the scenes.
Sure.
And it's like if you really wanted us to put down all of our real hours,
if you want me to, I will.
We'll take it. We'll take it.
I don't think you're going to like that.
Well, yeah, exactly. You'll take it once. Right,
Like I came up here last Friday at 10 o'clock. Terry's still here, 10 p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really don't want Terry's hours.
What? Dave had to drag. How long were you here for that baseball mess?
Oh, it was a long time.
Felt so bad. It's like, Dave, we're going to give you a day off next week.
Yeah, double. Is double header like a nightmare word for you now? If you hear that, you're like,
especially
oh,
when
God.
it's last minute, you're not expecting.
I'll be honest with you. We've been pretty lucky with that this year so far. That was the first weather episode, knock on wood, that we've had all year to where stuff got all twisted and sideways. We've had years where it was every weekend, dude. Every
Lightning
weekend.
delay, another 45 minutes.
My favorite one is when I forget who South Carolina was playing in Charlotte. Was it in Charlotte or Rock Hill? And the way the ballpark was built.
I think it was upstate or Winthrop.
Winthrop.
Yeah,
the way the ballpark was built, the sun came into the batters.
They had a sun delay.
And we almost had a sun delay.
They did have a brief sun delay because they had to wait for it to go behind the batter's eye, I think.
Yeah, it was like a minute. But they halted play for a minute while the sun went down behind the batter's eye.
Yeah. For one, I'm like, who designed the stadium?
I know. It's like,
if that's
who
the
is
problem.
this guy? It's like, so yeah. When we had the sun delay, I said, okay, yeah, that's pretty much the whole. That's
a
it.
new one.
We have a delay. What, daylight? We're having a daylight delay.
Oh, cloud delay.
So anyway, what were we talking about? Oh, all right. So Nolan Hay, we've got almost breaking news coming at some point. Should we make a decision this afternoon?
He is on campus today, from what we understand. You hope he makes a commitment today. That'd be nice. We'll see.
They said
I'll keep refreshing.
Keep refreshing. You see any welcome homes or any of that stuff, but we'll find out about the offensive lineman from Incarnate Word today. Ward. I always want to say Ward. Word.
Well,
Incarnate
you know what?
Word.
If you go from there to being the number 1 overall pick, they could change it to
it might be Incarnate Ward before it's over. So anyway, also baseball. We will see what happens. Florida 3-game series coming up here at Founders, if my memory serves me. Look, we kind of know where this season is going, but I believe, is it one loss that becomes official?
Yeah, so they basically got to win 8 out of their last 9. If they win 8 out of the last 9, that gets them to 13. And where they sit in the RPI with 13 wins, typically that team always gets in.
Yeah, because your strength of schedule is a beast because you play in the SEC.
And again, we saw it with basketball. You could be at or under 500 and you still get in that dance because of how strong the league is. So baseball kind of works the same way. But yes, historically, if you get 13 wins and sit in the top 30 in the RPI, you're going to get in.
Yeah, that's just the way it is.
That's why we've had that as the magic number, though. Again, asking you to win 8 games over the next 9, that's tall order.
It's tall order. The other part is, I mean, someone even said, well, maybe 12 because your strength of schedule. Now you're really it's a large reach to go, 12 and 18 in the league?
I wouldn't want to risk that. Now, maybe if you go in there and you just demolish LSU that final weekend, okay, maybe you've made a better case, but I'm not. For one, you're without your top 2 hitters right now.
Right.
One of them you'll likely get back maybe this weekend in Nathan Hall. How healthy is he? What percentage is he at? And Ethan Petrie, if he plays another game for the Gamecocks, I'll be very surprised.
Same here. And look, that's nothing against Ethan Petrie. It's like, look, you are looked at, and we all went over this yesterday, you are looked at roughly as most likely a second-round pick in the MLB draft. The way this thing is playing itself. I know, again, the MLB draft is a little different because there's a lot of slot manipulation and a lot of signability stuff, and teams might draft a guy a lot higher than you think he should be drafted because of signability, because they're trying to store their money that they have in their pool to get someone later, overspend later. So, I mean, your head will explode to go over the Major League Baseball draft, the way this thing plays itself out. But Petrie, if you look at where he's ranked as a prospect, he's roughly in the top 60-ish, which you would feel he would be a second-round pick in the MLB draft. No, somewhere, and you remember you have compensation picks and sandwich picks and all this stuff. So I think Ethan Petrie is done because, now then, the good news is if you don't like where you got drafted, you don't like the money you're offered, you got another year of eligibility, you can come on back and see if you want to build upon your numbers and maybe get a better spot the following year. You can always do that.
Yep.
But if you were gambling and laying your life savings, you'd probably go with he's not going to play another game as a Gamecock.
I would probably lean that way. And again, Maneri even said the timetable of the injury may not even allow him to do that. But at best, maybe you're getting him back right at the end of the regular season or at the SEC tournament, which, again, what are you playing for at that point in time? Do you risk going out there and injuring yourself further? I wouldn't.
That's the thing with Ethan Petrie. I wouldn't be me, myself. I would be like, you made a good business decision. Yeah, you don't want to go out there and get hurt.
Is anybody going to fault him for that or be mad?
Shouldn't.
No, they shouldn't be.
No, they shouldn't, because this is not looking like a memorable season, and you got to take care of you because your name's going to get called in the Major League Baseball draft, and you want to make sure that you didn't shred your ACL on a warning track somewhere. So I get it, absolutely. Florida coming to town. Next SEC series, and you have Auburn and you have LSU. That's the last 3, correct?
Yep.
2 of those teams are ranked, Auburn, LSU, and Florida has been playing much better baseball here in the last few weeks.
Isn't that kind of the story of the last handful of series? Is they're okay, but they've been playing their best baseball as of late.
And guess who gets them?
Yeah, South Carolina.
It's just the way this year has gone, man. It just has. And Nathan Hall, again, he will also be draft eligible this year. Now, he's not looked at as a level of prospect as Ethan Petrie. I haven't had a chance to really super deep dive yet to see how he's looked at. Now, could he conceivably come back for another year? Sure. It just depends on, where he is forecasted.
Sure.
And maybe he'd want to come back because he's never had a year like he's had this year.
No, well, again, he didn't get a ton of opportunities when he was at Clemson, and from what we learned when he transferred in is in those moments that he did, he looked really good. He just didn't get consistent time at the plate and stuff like that. And again, being your leadoff guy most of the year this year, he's obviously gone out there and done a really good job, gotten on base a ton, drove a ton of guys in, been kind of your model type of guy in that role. And, he may view this as, hey, I came here, made an impact, and I got myself worked somewhere into the middle rounds of the draft or whatever. I'm going to go take that. Yeah.
And so, the flip side is maybe you go, okay, they're looking at me possibly as let's say, let's just go for fun, 7th round pick. Let's just make up a number.
Yeah.
Maybe he says, I've only had 1 year where I got to play every day. I think I'll come back for another year, be even better than next year. Maybe I can improve my draft stock because I haven't been an everyday player my entire career.
That'd be great. And I'm sure Coach Maneri would love to see him come back. And there's your kind of first foundational piece for next year to build around.
And you got some youngins on this team with Scobie and Hollins that, in the infield that are freshmen that you'll build upon. And pitching is, I think, Tyler, pitching is where, unless there's some guys who are really going to ramp up and develop between this year and next year, that almost feels like where your portal/hardcore recruiting work. Now, again, Eli Jersenbeck is hurt. Who knows what happens with Jersenbeck? Who knows if he comes back? Is he healthy? Is he what he used to be? Is he 100%? All these things. Who knows, right? But pitching is where you're really going to have to dig in this offseason to go get better.
Sure.
You got McCoy. That's good. He's got a live arm. He's just got to improve his command and his location. But you got to go find some guys who can bring it on the mound. You just really do. But that's tomorrow. It gets rolling. You can hear it right here on the game in Columbia, 107.5 The Game, and our affiliate in Myrtle Beach, 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. 6:45 pregame, 7 o'clock first pitch, South Carolina and Florida. All right, Dave. I am going to this weekend pick back up on this Severance stuff. I'm going to give it a shot, Dave.
You got to get past those first 15 minutes.
I just got it. I'm going to start over again, Dave. I'm going to start over again. I'm going to pretend that 15 minutes didn't happen. I'm going to start over again.
Did I show you the music dance experience?
You did. That looked interesting. Problem is I got to get past that first 15 minutes awake so I can enjoy these wonderful moments of the show you keep telling me about. Yeah, look at his face. Whenever I say anything bad about Severance, I think I'm talking bad about his family. Matter of fact,
you're taking it personal.
Matter of fact, if I said, Dave, would you rather have me talk bad about your family or talk bad about Severance? Talk bad about my family.
Well, you talk bad
my
about
family. Yeah.
Yeah.
All day long.
So I'm going to try, Dave. We'll give it a whirl.
Good.
What are you watching now anyway, Dave?
Let's see. I'm watching the one about the Irish sisters that killed the husband of one of them and tried to cover it up.
So it's a comedy.
Yeah, it's comedy. It is.
Oh, is it funny?
Yeah. It's been copied. Some network has copied their exact
What's the name of this
plot.
thing? What's the name of this thing?
Bad Sisters.
Bad Sisters. You down with Bad Sisters?
Sure, I guess.
This is the first time I've heard of it.
And
Yeah.
The Residents on Netflix.
The Residents. Is that Steve Martin?
No, this is murder takes place in the White House.
Oh, okay.
I feel like every time I go on Netflix and I scroll through, I'm like, there's 20 of these TV shows I've never heard of that are like, oh, this is the best one, best one, that. Top 10 this. And I'm like, I'm never going to be able to have the time to watch all these.
Yeah, same here. And what is it? The one with Steve Martin is Murders in the...
Murders in the Building.
Yeah, Murders
That's
in the
great.
Building.
That's Hulu. I've actually
That's Hulu,
watched
right?
a little bit of that because I'm a big Selena Gomez fan.
Yes,
but that's actually
Selena
Really?
Gomez.
it's
Do
a
we
pretty
need to have
good
a
show.
talk about how big of a Selena Gomez fan you are? Should we start talking about that right now or what?
I mean, I'm always down to talk about her. But it's not.
Wife's working, right?
It's not creepy. I promise.
Well, you're about the same age as Selena Gomez.
Yeah, she's a couple years older than me.
Is that like you're Bill
Listen,
Belichick and you're all
I
over
know.
Selena Gomez?
I've been following her all the way from the Disney Channel.
See,
So
it's not creepy.
There's a
But you're about
Wizards
the
of
same
Waverly
age.
Place on DVD.
listen, man, that was my show back in the day.
Mad. I remember
Everything is not as it seems, Dave. Part of the
my
theme song.
daughter watched Selena Gomez on Disney and also was big with the Hannah Montana thing on Disney.
Yeah, I also grew up on Hannah Montana.
Every time I see Miley Cyrus, she's Hannah Montana.
Get the best of both worlds.
That's it. I can't say. I just like that's Hannah Montana. All right, halftime show. Terry Ford, David Dare, Tyler Head. We'll pop back in. Dawn Staley, big day for Dawn Staley yesterday, and it was. I was out there hanging around, watching, taking in the whole thing, and
Talking football with Spurrier.
Spurrier and I hung out.
Yeah.
So we'll talk some Dawn Staley and her day of having her statue unveiled. We'll get to that next here on the halftime show on the game. halftime show. David Dare steering the ship. Tyler Head, Terry Ford were going up until 3 here on the game. Dawn Staley yesterday getting her statue in downtown Columbia. It was a cool ceremony. A lot of people got up and spoke. People from Dawn's past. Jeremiah Donati, the AD. You had, the mayor. It was a thing, man. It was and then Dawn got up and she spoke as well. And
they didn't ask you to come up there?
They did, but I didn't want to take up the time. It was hot.
Yeah.
It was hot out. You got to think of the people.
Sure.
So the one thing about that, even the MC was like, "Look, I get it. It's a little hot. We'll try to speed it up for you." But Dawn, obviously a great honor to get a statue of yourself anywhere. Pretty much is a great honor.
Yeah, they don't build statues for underachievers. That's for sure.
No, typically the statues aren't of bizarre thing. Every now and then you'll run into some bizarre statue thing, but usually the statues are people who do great things.
I was going to say, like, there's a difference between, like, statues of people and art, because art is obscure in the eye of the beholder or whatever. Like,
sure.
You have the people that don't have heads or, like, 3 feet or something along those lines. But, like, yeah, if you're a person that is being a statue made in your likeness, you've usually accomplished something pretty great. Obviously, Asia's got hers down by the arena, and now Dawn has hers, more here in downtown, and obviously still a lot left to accomplish here. So I kind of thought, like, maybe put, like, the accomplishments going forward on, like, the rungs of the ladder or something like that. I don't know. You can do a lot of things.
Then there's the fire hydrant controversy. We won't go into it, but I will tell y'all later.
Fire hydrant controversy. There's always got to be a controversy, Dave. That's how we live.
Yeah.
Always got to be a controversy about something. Someone does something, someone's got to have a controversy. You can tell us that one during the break.
I will.
All right, good. Dawn Staley, when she got a chance to get up and talk, let's get cut to here. Dawn talking about the basically the unveiling of the statue and leading the life that has led up to this, and just a lot of different things. Here's Dawn.
So I agreed to the statue, not for me, but for the girl who will walk by one day and wonder who I was. Maybe. Maybe she'll look me up. She'll see that I did some things in basketball, of course, but I hope she sees much more. I hope she sees that I was a champion for equity and equality, that in my own way, I pushed for change, that I stood proudly in the space God called me to inhabit, not as someone perfect or extraordinary, but as a regular girl who used her gifts to open doors so other girls wouldn't have to knock as hard. If that little girl sees that I was the first to do something, I want her to know it was only so I wouldn't be the last. I want her to see me as an example of what can be accomplished by giving intentional effort every day. But if she wants to see greatness, well, Asia Wilson is up the way. It is only by God's grace that I'm standing here today. I know that for sure. And if I said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. I am merely a messenger. There is no victory or honor I can claim as my own. All glory belongs to God, forever and always. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah, the funny part of this story was she didn't want this thing in the beginning.
Right.
And they had to kind of talk her into it and kind of give her different angles. They had to make her want to do it. And, then they finally convinced her to do it. And I get it. I mean, look, I guess look at it this way. If you are going around saying, hey, you guys, I'm pretty great. You guys want to make a statue of me? That's a little weird.
Yeah, that's a little high and mighty.
Yeah. So I think most people...
Not that she wouldn't have deserved it.
Yeah, but most people, when you come say, I want to do a statue of you stop a minute and go, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, that would just be like human nature, right?
Well, and especially when you're still the active coach. Like, again, a lot of times statues get built after you're done, you're retired and all that kind of stuff. So it is a rare thing to see these kind of things happen when a coach is still active in that role.
Yeah, so I get her. She's like, wait a minute, I really don't want a statue. But then, finally they looked at it and you heard what she said about it and why she did it. And look, it's been a great career, not just as a basketball coach, basketball player, the things she's done away from basketball to try to, make the world a better place, all those things together.
Sure.
And in this town where, she came here and I forgot which person got up, talked about this when she said, yeah, Dawn told me she was going to come take the head coaching gig at South Carolina. Their question to her was, why? You got Tennessee with Pat Summitt. You got this program, that program. Why would you do that to yourself?
Yep.
And go jump into that, that pressure cooker. And, but she did. She came here and she's built a powerhouse. It's the best program in women's college basketball over the last, 5 years?
Yeah.
And they ain't going to slow down.
No.
So
again, there's still a lot of things left to accomplish for however much longer she wants to do this.
So it was just a good day to sit and watch someone who deserves being honored for not just, that's the thing too, it's not just the basketball stuff. She does so many things off the court
Yeah.
That are just as, if not more important than coaching basketball as well. So Gino Auriemma, though, had something to say.
This was after the their national championship parade celebration, whatever it was, and he took a shot at Asia's statue, which is outside of Colonial Life Arena, and Dawn had her own response to that yesterday.
So here that is, Dave. Let's go with cut 3 with Gino, first of all, taking a shot at Asia Wilson's statue, and then Dawn Staley's response to Gino. Hit it.
Most other places, if you win one national championship, they build a statue to you outside the building. Here, they won't even let you get to the front of the bus.
And contrary to the belief of one of my coaching colleagues, her statue wasn't in response to winning a national championship. It was in response to being a winner at life.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go, Gino.
Again, and if you know the story of Asia's statue and her speech about it, saying, hey, my grandma wasn't allowed to walk up this street all those years ago, and I got a statue here. That's pretty cool. Like, again, it's a lot more than, yes, winning a national championship is important, but that's not the only reason why that statue sits there.
It is. And again, it's just, I get what Gino's doing. He's playing to his crowd and trying to sound cool, but you also sound ignorant because you don't understand.
Yeah, it's not the first time he's done that.
And it won't be the last. There's something behind that statue that matters a lot more than just basketball. Again, to think about what Asia Wilson said and to think about where this world was years and years and years ago, where you couldn't walk certain places or sit in certain restaurants or get on certain buses because your skin color was different than others. And now we've reached that. And look, is all that stuff perfect and fixed? No. Will it ever be? Probably not. But I'll say this, the idea that you go from that to be able to get to the point where we're at today, and an Asia Wilson can not only walk across the campus, but have a lot more opportunities in life than a lot of the people generations back could, is something that should be celebrated, and her story should be celebrated. And again, Gino just sounds ignorant because he doesn't understand the full scope. Because again, does Gino even think about anything besides basketball?
Probably not. Because
that's really all he was thinking about was basketball. No, hey Bob, if you pay attention, maybe some things outside of basketball, you have a better understanding of why that statue's up there.
Yeah, this rivalry continues.
Oh, it is. And now that UConn got one over this twice last year, Dawn's trying to ramp it up. So, anyway, very nice little comeback from Dawn because it's the truth. That's what it's all about.
You know those unfiltered conversations we talk about having with coaches? I'd love to know Dawn's actual organic thoughts on Gino away from microphones and cameras.
You know that little Falker truth serum?
Yeah.
What was it?
Tell me what you really think.
Jim Carrey and Liar Liar?
Yeah, where you can't tell a lie.
Yeah, get some of that just for a little bit to ask a question about Gino. All right, so a great day for Dawn Staley. Much deserved. The accolades that Dawn obviously gets and will continue to get. All right, so just in case you just woke up, the world is ending in the NBA. If you're watching any of these national yapper shows, the world is ending. We'll get to it next. Halftime show. Tyler Head, Terry Ford, David Ayer, just in case you just woke up, next on the game. Oh, just in case you just woke up, the NBA world has ended. I don't know what all these yapper shows are going to do now.
Well, viewership's going to tank.
The Lakers are done, out in 5, beat by the Timberwolves. I didn't see that coming. I thought the Lakers would win the series and then, lose in the next round. But give Minnesota, first of all, before we get to this Lakers stuff, because no one's talking about the Lakers. No one's talking about the Timberwolves this morning or this afternoon or anytime. It's like the Lakers, no one even, who they lose to? Doesn't matter. They just lost.
They beat
Who cares?
themselves.
That's right.
Yeah.
The Lakers took out the Lakers. So, first of all, Anthony Edwards, and last night Anthony Edwards wasn't even very good last night. It was the Timberwolves, I guess, lack of a better term, supporting cast that took out the Lakers last night. Edwards struggled. But it's just the idea that Lakers are out, and now all the storylines are coming. Well, Luka doesn't play defense, and he's out of shape. Oh, really?
I heard Kendrick Perkins refer to Luka as the worst defensive star in the NBA right now.
I would say he's the worst defensive player, period, maybe in the NBA. If you look at defensive metrics, but he was like that last year. Dallas got to the finals.
Sure.
What's going on now makes me laugh because if you watch basketball, if you're a basketball head, all these things everybody's talking about right now, you go, yeah,
you knew.
So, well, he wasn't a good defensive player last year.
Yeah.
And guess what?
The Lakers did not trade for his defensive prowess.
No, and my man's had trouble bending down and tying his shoes for a while now. So it's not like all this just happened. Oh, by the way, all this, and again, he's a terrible defender. He averaged 30 points a game in the postseason.
Yeah, still good.
So he's a high-level offensive player. He's highly skilled. It's just my man can't play D, and our boy hasn't seen a donut or a beer he doesn't like. But this stuff was there. And you know what? Dallas found a way to get around it and get to the NBA Finals.
Sure.
Think about that for a minute. By the way, Dallas also had another guy who was allergic to defense named Kyrie Irving and got to the NBA Finals last year. You know why? They had 3 high-level defenders around those two. And 2, they had a seasoned head coach in Jason Kidd.
Mm-hmm.
The Laker team doesn't have high-level defenders around Luka. They don't have a rim protector like Dallas did. And they have a head coach who has got a little bit more experience than you and I. And the only reason he got the job is because he's LeBron's podcasting buddy.
That certainly helped.
And then that guy made a very controversial decision. What was it, Game 4, that he was going to play his starters the entire second half and not use his bench because he has no confidence in his bench.
Mm-hmm.
But then in Game 5, he tried to put his bench out there. But after you told me you have no confidence in me, hey, go get him.
Yeah, thanks, Coach.
I mean, he had guys on the floor in the fourth quarter of a 2-possession game that's an elimination game. Dudes you had to, dust off because they had mold on them.
Sure.
So this whole thing is circled by, Luka Doncic is a terrible defender. Yeah, he is. They do the defensive metrics last night. 9 times a Minnesota Timberwolves offensive player with the ball blew past Luka Doncic. 9 times. That's the most ever in a game since they started keeping advanced metrics.
Yep.
It was Luka's worst defensive game, period, probably in his entire career. And he's had some bad defensive games.
Yep.
By the way, he did, to be fair, get conked to the ground and he left the game because of his back and everything else. But this is not a surprise. You can still obviously get to the finals with Luka, but there's a formula. See what you want to do? Maybe go look at the formula because this is your guy. This is going to be your guy. The future of your franchise is Luka Doncic.
Yeah, well, he'll soon, probably within the next handful of years, be the biggest star on the team.
Or maybe LeBron stays around 9 more years and plays till he's 50. I don't know.
You know what? Why not?
We're not surprised.
He's playing at this level at age 40. Why not?
You will never, ever see a guy play at this level at that age in the NBA. By the way, Gianna Neepkins, it just came across, commits to UCLA.
Okay. Well,
Neepkins goes to UCLA.
It seemed like it was kind of trending away from South Carolina for a while now, but that would have been a nice get. But
been a nice get.
Can't get everything.
I get Neepkins.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I get it.
And look, probably going to run into her at some point next year.
Probably at some point in time, you'll see Gianna Neepkins. It would have been a great get for South Carolina women. That just went across the bottom line scroll on ESPN2. Gianna Neepkins has committed to UCLA. It was between UCLA and South Carolina. She ends up at UCLA. Still, you've had a nice transfer portal.
Oh, yeah. No, you did. Did a really good job.
You got a perimeter player who can get you buckets, and you got a big that can help you in the paint.
What are the 2 things they needed?
A perimeter player that can get you buckets and a big that can help you in the paint. So nice work by Dawn and the Gamecocks there. But Gianna Neepkins has committed to UCLA. That just popped across the ticker. See, just in case you just woke up, you wouldn't have known that.
Boom, breaking news.
We got this segment. All right, also, the other thing that's happened, we were so stuck on, and we're going to get to Giannis here in a second, about his interaction with Tyrese Halliburton's dad. We're going to give you that audio sound. Let's get to that first, then we'll talk about Giannis moving forward, because that's a thing. Let's get to, I believe it's cut 8, Dave. Giannis Antetokounmpo and his interaction with Tyrese Halliburton's dad.
I believe like being humble in victory. That's how I am. Now there's can be a lot of people out there that are like, no, when you win the game, you gotta, it's a green light for you to be disrespectful towards somebody else. I disagree. I've won the championship. They haven't. Losing a game, emotions run high. Having a fan, which at the moment I thought he was a fan, but then I realized he was Tyrese's son, which I love. Tyrese, I think he's a great competitor. He was his dad, sorry. Coming in the floor and showing me his son a towel with his face. This is what we do. This is what we effing do. This the F we do. This. I feel like that's very, very disrespectful.
What a polite way to say that.
That was a very polite way. That's the thing about him. He's such a nice guy, and he talks in such a polite manner. Even when he says F, it comes out like...
And the Greek accent's so charming, right?
It is. It's like, hey, Giannis, if I just kind of give you just like a phone book, would you read it? And let me sit down and listen to you?
I would love to know, because again, they were jawing back and forth with each other. What did it sound like when he's biting back at Mr. Halliburton?
You mean when he ramps up into like dude mode?
Yeah, like I don't think he was censoring himself in that situation.
I don't think he sounded very polite either, right? But yeah, I mean, look, Giannis is 150% correct. It's disrespectful. I love the shot of, I've won a championship.
Yeah, it's like, hey buddy, I've been to the mountaintop, and I wasn't getting in somebody's parents' face.
Right.
And that's the way I think about it. I'm like, let's flip this on its head, right? Let's say, in that situation, instead of Tyrese Halliburton blowing by Giannis, he stops him, and then, the Bucks end up winning, and he goes into the stands and gets in Mr. Halliburton's face and is talking about the same thing.
With a towel.
How does that look?
Yeah, right. Absolutely. And so now you move forward with Giannis. Giannis is, I believe, 30 years old, still has probably 4 or 5 more prime years. But the thing with Giannis is so much about athleticism and explosion and things like that. Once that starts to come back down a little bit, then Giannis obviously is going to have to pick up other aspects of his game. But you probably have another good 4 years of Giannis being Giannis.
Sure.
Now the Bucks have a difficult conversation. Do you keep him like Dallas kept Dirk Nowitzki, just because he's our guy? We don't care. We won a title with him. We're going to have a statue of Giannis up outside the arena at some point. He's our dude. He's going to be a Buck forever. We're riding with Giannis. I don't care if we're 30 and 52. We want Giannis Antetokounmpo to wear a Bucks jersey. Or you say this: we've gone as far as we can in this. We've made mistakes.
Sure.
We screwed this thing up, but now we're stuck, and we might have to trade Giannis to start a nuclear type rebuild. That, by the way, most of the time doesn't work when you trade your superstar. You don't rebuild.
We saw
correctly.
We saw the blowback of obviously Luka being traded away from Dallas. How do you think Bucks fans would feel about Giannis being traded off?
It's just the only thing that's to be a little better is the fact that the Bucks aren't coming off going to the NBA Finals.
That's true.
But Milwaukee's problems, like one thing about that play, and we're talking about Tyrese Halliburton, beating Giannis and getting that go-ahead layup. First of all, Giannis is 7 feet tall. You got a 7-foot dude on the perimeter guarding a point guard. Think about that for a minute. Mm-hmm. But Giannis is so athletic, we don't even think about, wow, a 7-foot dude out there guarding a point guard. Here's the second thing. Who came over and helped? How about nobody?
Yeah.
So Giannis is out there on the perimeter, 7 foot, guarding a point guard. Point guard goes to his right, which, by the way, we know he's going to go to his right. So where is the help side defense? To prevent Halliburton, once Halliburton cleared Giannis, that was a layup.
Yep.
Where was the guy coming over to block the shot, alter the shot, or knock the living crap out of Halliburton and make him earn it at the free throw line? Exactly.
I don't know.
That's the problem. The Bucks are a bad defensive team besides Giannis, pretty much. Offensively, if Lillard's not there, you don't have a whole lot going on there either. You got to figure out if you're Milwaukee, Do you want to explode it and trade this iconic player in your franchise history? Or do you just say, you know what? We're going to keep him and we're going to go try to do better and see what we can do with what assets we have and what kind of draft capital we've got. What can we do to bring in the right type of players to play with Giannis? And by the way, the guy that you traded for blew his Achilles.
Yep.
All right. Just in case you just woke up here on the game, Tyler Head, Terry Ford, David Ayer. Firehouse Sub, text the hours next, 803-404-6100 on the halftime show on the game in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach. Time to kick our Firehouse sub text of the hour, 803-404-6100. And also, after we do that, hey, Dave, get ready. I want to run cut 5 from Rich Rodriguez. He was actually funny about statues, so I want to get to that. First of all, go ahead, Tyler. We got on the old Firehouse sub text line, man.
In the last hour, we kicked around what should people lay at Don Staley's statue, like at Saban's. They put out oatmeal cream pies because he loves the stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Raymond says, I think they should lay candy necklaces at Dawn's statue because she always has a little candy table at games, chewing gum or, I don't know, suckers or whatever. She likes to have some sugar while those games are going on.
Yeah, I get that.
So put some candy at the statue.
I think to go to also, it's the idea of that table. I mean, that's cool, but maybe it's sort of like, what do you eat when you watch a game? Maybe she can set up some wings there sometime.
Yeah.
Maybe some fries, some chips.
Could you imagine she's trying to coach and eat a buffalo wing at the same time?
Well, anyway, sorry, let me finish chewing. Wait a minute. All right, so anyway, wait a minute. There's on my teeth. Wait a minute. Hold on. That would be really good.
Her fingers get all sticky, and she gets it all over the little sheet of paper she's got there.
It sticks.
No. Lisa Boyer has got the wet wipe ready to go.
She's going to clean off her fingers. Because you ever eat that, and in your napkin, if you don't have a wet wipe, you go to the napkin, it just sticks to your hand.
Exactly.
And
like this is it. And really, it's really just kind of spreading around what's already there. It's not really like picking it up.
No.
And then your hand's still sticky, and you got to go wash it or get some sanitizer or something.
So, yeah, it's a good text. That'd be a good one. Put a little candy there for Dawn. 803-404-6100. Always appreciate you on the Firehouse sub text line. All right, so speaking of statues, Rich Rodriguez, the head coach at West Virginia again. Rich Rodriguez had a great line about statues, and he should have a statue at Alabama, is what Rich Rod says. Here's why Rich Rodriguez thinks that he should have a statue at Alabama.
It was somebody did a story about that because obviously with Coach Saban's success, the greatest college football coach ever, not even question that, and how that thing kind of went full circle. And that's what I tell everybody. I said, remember, I didn't go to Alabama the year before, so it was. And it's some of the things that happened then that keep me here. Came up later on too, 1 year later, but. I used to always tell the story. So where's my trophy in Tuscaloosa, right? Where's my statue outside there? Because if I had gone there, you may not have those 6. You probably wouldn't have those 6 national championships.
Yeah, he's right.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong.
I mean, they could have been successful, but not like that.
Not like that. It's true. If you would have got Rich Rod, there would have been no Saban.
No, there would have been no Saban, and. Think about all that high-level talent that Saban got over 15 years. Where did they go?
Where's it going?
Who commits to Alabama? And if they don't commit to Alabama, are they going to Texas, Georgia, Auburn? What program ends up becoming the dynasty then?
And then who is the head coach of Michigan? Because Rich Rod ended up being the head coach of Michigan. Yep. The butterfly effect on stuff is really cool.
It's huge. I mean, you can even track it further back, though. The Mike Price thing at Alabama. Mm-hmm. If he goes there and is moderately successful, they're not looking for a coach a couple years later. Like, it's so, and for something like that, that's so high profile. Because, again, if Saban doesn't go to Alabama, the whole landscape of college football is altered drastically.
Well, you think about it, to go to that point, then Mike Price should have a statue, and the girl Mike Price was with should have a statue.
Should say, roll tide, it's rolling, baby, at the bottom. And you can have like the credit card sitting there at the base of the statue.
Because if Mike Price doesn't use the Bama credit card, none of this happens.
If Mike Price uses the right credit card,
who knows?
In 2003, the entire landscape of college football is probably different.
Him grabbing the Bama the university credit card changed everything.
Or if he just didn't go to the golf tournament to begin with.
Right.
If something else came up that weekend and he had to cancel.
Or you do what most guys do, I've heard. You pay in cash. Straight cash, homie, from that great financier, Randy Moss.
If Mike Price stops at an ATM on the way to the golf tournament, college football looks drastically different.
Yes, a whole different world. A whole different world. That's a cool cut from Rich Rodriguez. You forget. People forget this because just the way Rich Rod's career's played out. This guy was within one win of playing for the national championship.
Yeah.
At West Virginia.
Staying at West Virginia in 07, they were on the cusp. They blew it in the backyard brawl.
You don't lose to Pitt. Dave Wannstedt's Pitt Panthers.
Yeah.
Dave Wanstad was the head coach of the. I'll never forget the end of the game. Wanstad lumbering out to the middle of the field to shake hands with Rich Rod.
We almost had a West Virginia, Missouri national championship game.
Think about that.
And they both blew it at the last
The year
second.
was so kooky. And that West Virginia team, all you folks who play video games, that 2007 West Virginia offense.
Crazy.
I mean, with Pat White and Steve Slayton, and I think Noel Devine was a freshman on that team.
Oh, it was
West Virginia.
It was high octane. It was fun to watch. And again, Rich Rod, very innovative offensive mind. And, would have made a lot of sense if he did go at Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, Rich Rodriguez was a hot candidate for a lot of big-time head coaching jobs there for a bit. And now he's back at West Virginia.
And wanting a statue in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
Next to Saban's.
And get rid of that TikTok-y thing with my players.
Don't do that.
All right. Football, the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. I found a very interesting, way too early 2026 NFL mock draft that I think is kind of fun and compelling. We'll get to it next here on the game. All right, let's say that, I don't know, you have a medical issue that's really important to you. And the doctor looks at you and says, we're just going to give you a cookie cutter program like everybody else. Well, I'm not like everybody else. My problem is major and important to me, and it's me. I don't want the same remedy that Tyler Head's getting. Well, that's what you're getting. Why? We give the same thing to everybody. You don't want to go to that doctor. You don't want to deal with that. Same thing when it comes to if you have low testosterone. Let's say you go to the men's clinic. You call 803-875-MENS. You go to the men's clinic in South Carolina. You do the consultation. They do the lab work. They come back and you do have low T. They're going to put you on a program specifically designed for you. Just you, not Tyler Head, you. So you can get back to being you again. Personalized service. Men's Clinic of South Carolina, 803-875-MENS. Nothing but football. The halftime show in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. David Ayer, keeping us on the air. Tyler Head, Terry Ford here on the game. All right. So, before we move on, in case anybody didn't hear in the opening riff of the show, Nolan Hay from Incarnate Word did his visit to South Carolina for a couple days. He's here today. He's going to leave at some point today, and then the hope is, or the word is, he might have a decision by later on. Same thing, 5-star offensive lineman, start as freshman, get beat like a drum for a while, and then your sophomore year, Proctor's looked at one of the best left tackles in America now. So hopefully that happens for Josiah Thompson. And Casey Henry, again, you're hoping his second year as a starter, he gets better and develops as well. So you got all these pieces in there, man. You got transfer portal guys. You got, former high-level recruits that should be developing. You got a lot of stuff in there, and hopefully you can piece together a good offensive line.
And you just have a lot of bodies. I think if he commits, that'll make it 13 or 14 guys you have in the room. And obviously, you're talking about having 3 levels worth of depth, essentially, which, again, a couple seasons ago you didn't have. So the more bodies in the room, certainly the merrier. And, again, we kind of have an idea of what that starting 5 is going to be, but it's not confirmed yet. We don't have a depth chart. So bringing somebody in just for the competition aspect of it, it's always a good thing.
We'll keep looking, Tyler. We'll keep refreshing the social media platforms, and if something pops out, we'll let you know before we kick off here at 3. And then, of course, Jay and Elijah will let you know what's up as well. All right. Mock draft. Way too early. 2026 mock drafts are cooking. You and I had this conversation the other day about this. They're always entertaining, and you go and look back at them. Sometimes they make you laugh.
Yeah, the CBS one I looked at from last year had Carson Beck at 6. Mm-hmm. A lot changed.
He's not even the 6th-ranked quarterback going into this year's draft. His stock had dropped so much he decided to stay in college.
Yeah, which is probably smart.
Just like Quinn Ewers should have.
Yeah.
But anyway. All right, so here is the way too early mock draft of ESPN's Jordan Reed. I mean, Jordan Reed was a scout, and Jordan Reed, he's been around this whole draft stuff for a long time. So Jordan Reed has quarterbacks. I mean, this quarterback class looks much better.
As we expected.
Mm-hmm. And so, once again, listen to the name I don't say.
Yep.
That's coming. All right, so as I spin through this draft, you got to get to the quarterbacks in the top 10. I believe that's where it started. Name will not surprise you. It is going to be Drew Aller from Penn State, sitting at number 8 to New Orleans. Remember, the last mock draft we talked about, New Orleans was number 1 overall. So now, at least they're 8. They just have a losing record.
They're being projected to not be very good, is what you're telling me.
Exactly. Garrett Nussmeier going 7th, the LSU quarterback, and of course Drew Aller, Penn State. So 8 and 7 have quarterbacks. That's 2.
Yep.
That's 2 so far. Then you scrooch up a bit. At number 4, the Jets take a guy named Lenore Sellers.
So you're telling me the Justin Fields experiment is not going to work?
Yeah, pretty much, yes. If Justin Fields looks at this mock draft, he's going, oh, okay. That's 3 in the top 10. The first pick overall, the Cleveland Browns will trade for the number 1 pick overall in this mock fun draft and take Cade Klubnik, quarterback Clemson.
Look, Cade is regarded as one of the better quarterbacks in the class. This is the first time I've definitively seen somebody say he is the best.
Same here. I mean, he's been looked at as ranked in like the top 7 coming back, top 10 coming back, something like that. And look, Klubnik,
got good Heisman
he had a good year last season at Clemson. He really did. And I know they have talent at wide receiver. So, Klubnik he's set up to have a really nice 2025.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the first time I've seen him put in this spot, too.
By the way, think of the potential quarterback battle we have by November, where you have a 3rd year of experience with Cade Klubnik, obviously a 2nd year with the North Sellers. These guys could be fighting for the Heisman Trophy at that point in time. Who knows? But that could add some layers to the rivalry when that game comes.
Yeah, I'm spinning through this thing back and forth. There's one name I didn't say.
Yeah.
Arch Manning.
I thought it was open and shut that he was going to be the best quarterback we've ever seen.
And I looked for Jordan Reed to say, why didn't he put Manning in this thing? I don't see anything in the layout before he gets to it that says why Arch Manning is not in his mock draft. I don't know, but if Arch Manning, Arch Manning would be a top 10 pick as well, if not the first pick overall.
And I would assume if you kind of scroll through his entire mock draft, I imagine there's probably not a lot of first-year starters in this group of players.
And it could be just simple as that, like Greg McElroy with Arch Manning. Remember when he's bringing his
we don't
top
know.
10 quarterbacks?
Like,
we
again,
don't know.
His upside and ceiling is sky high. And again, famous family, obviously, was still a 5-star kid coming out of high school. And, we've seen moments where, hey, that looks pretty good to me. But there have been also been moments like, okay, still learning, still progressing, still developing. But we don't know. And again, he's going to have all the talent in the world around him at Texas. So he's not going to have to worry about throwing to a bunch of, schlubs. But we're going to have to see because we just don't have enough from him yet as a quarterback in college to truly know for sure.
I'm spinning through this draft to see if I see anybody else who would be a first-year starter. Off the top of my head, I don't see anybody that's would be in Arch Manning's category. So maybe that's what Jordan Reed's doing. He's saying, look, man, you haven't even started a full season.
Which is completely fair.
This is the first time I've seen a mock draft without Arch Manning. I'll be honest with you.
I think it's almost, I don't know, the court of public opinion. They're like, oh, well, of course he's going to be great.
He's going to kill it.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Sure.
He's at Texas. He obviously has the genes and the lineage to tell us that he's going to be a pretty darn good quarterback, and he might be, but I don't know. I need to see. And look, they start off the season at Ohio State. That's going to be a real good litmus test right out of the gate to see how good this guy is.
Absolutely. So I think you might have hit. That's where Jordan Reed's going is, look, he's not started a full year yet. Why am I going to put him in my mock draft in the first round? So many people believe that he is going to be the real deal, but I saw a post, an article, which I thought was interesting.
And so many people need him to be the real deal.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, it's a thing.
College football needs him to be the real deal.
He needs to be for 1 year because he can't be for multiple years because if he has a great year, he's gone. He needs to be for this year Tim Tebow for college football.
Yeah, pretty much.
It really does.
And again, he's already garnered a good deal of fame without winning the starting job yet. So if he goes out there and, puts up 52 points and 400 yards against Ohio State, oh, that train's going to be rolling right from the jump.
Has there been a quarterback since Tebow that has had more spotlight / pressure on him to be not just good, but generationally good as Arch Manning has gotten?
Obviously there was a lot on Manziel when he came back for that second year. Because again,
not in the first year coming in. I mean, the first year, the hype.
First year coming, because that's right. Because Tebow, he's part of that first national championship team and came in goal line situations to Chris Leak. So that's a good point. That coming into your first year as a starter, having those lofty expectations, very rare thing. And again, Tebow had just for the guy that he was, and obviously the play on the field, had that reputation going into that first year start. And guess what? Won the Heisman Trophy and ends up winning a national championship himself the next year. So very, very rare that kind of things happens. And again, as we go back, if this was Arch Smith, then he's just another 5-star. Right? But because he's Arch Manning, that adds so much more to it. And you want a drinking game for Texas games? When they show Cooper, Eli, Peyton, or Arch at any point during the game, take a drink.
Oh, put this, you'll be out of booze by halftime.
Also, every time Arch Manning or Cooper Manning's wearing a really big hat, take a drink as well, because he just loves those big hats.
Yes, he does. By the way, those Vegas commercials with Cooper in there with Peyton and Eli, pretty funny.
That whole family's hilarious.
They are funny. They are funny.
And like Arch, actually, I've listened to some of his interviews. He's got a little of that in him as well. Like I'd like to hear more from him this year. Just kind of see that personality come out a little bit more. But that family's very underratedly funny.
But the thing is, Dad's not.
Dad's not.
Dad doesn't come off funny at all, but his kids are all funny.
Listen, Peyton hosting SNL was
classic. Him
phenomenal.
Doing the thing with the kids.
Oh yeah, and he threw it at those kids.
I can watch it right now and start laughing.
And there were some terrible parents like, hit my kid in the face. Go ahead. He's like, what are we doing here?
So good. So we'll see moving forward. Like to your point though, Manziel coming off the Heisman, Caleb Williams coming off of a Heisman, things of that nature. and they didn't have as good a year.
Yeah.
And there was a ton of hype and pressure on those guys because then it was this: you can be the first guy since Archie Griffin, or the only other guy besides Archie Griffin to win a second Heisman.
You have to back it up. And Caleb Williams' numbers were actually comparable. It's just that second Southern Cal team wasn't as good.
Not as good. But that's just the way that thing goes. You can still play really well, but if your team doesn't do as good in the one-loss record.
But for coming into your first year as a starter, very rarefied air to have this many expectations placed on you.
Yeah, so we shall see where that goes. But if Arch Manning does play the way people are hoping he'll play, that's 5 quarterbacks in the top 10 projected. A little different than this year. And here's the other thing. Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, anybody else from the quarterback position taken in this draft would all be graded behind those 5.
If Kate Klubnik goes number 1 to the Browns, that's bad news for Shedeur Sanders.
Yes, it is. Well, I'll say this.
And Dylan Gabriel.
Think about this. Any of these quarterbacks we just talked about, if they play like they're projected in the scouting world, they all will probably be rated higher than Cam Ward.
Yeah, probably.
This was not a great draft for quarterbacks. Now, I'm not saying Cam Ward's not going to end up being a franchise quarterback or a hell of a quarterback. I don't know, because it's a crapshoot. Cam Ward's got a 42% chance to be a franchise quarterback because that's what happens in the first round.
Yeah.
Typically 40 to 42% of them become successful.
He's also going to, like Caleb Williams at least went to an organization that was starting to build, had pieces around him, so it wasn't going into a bare cupboard. Cam Ward is. Cam Ward does not have a lot of help around him as of right now.
No, Chicago tried in Caleb Williams' rookie year to surround him with talent. They just forgot you need an offensive line. Oops.
And a competent head coach.
Yep, but hope they corrected that.
Yeah, we'll see.
At least they're trying. They tried the first year, it didn't work, so they're going to try harder. But yeah, if you're a boy, Cam Ward, you're going, all right, so who am I throwing this ball to again? I mean, you have very few guys on that. I do believe you will have Calvin Ridley.
Yes.
I believe that's what you have. And then you have Calvin Ridley, and I believe there's Calvin Ridley. And there's someone else there, too, that you take a flyer on, but it's not a very full wide receiver room.
Say this. You're not drafting too many Tennessee Titans on your fantasy
No,
team.
you're not. No, you're not. All right, football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors here on the game. This story just keeps getting more weird and creepy, and it's almost like at some point there's going to be an E-True Hollywood story on this, and a 30 for 30, and a Behind the Music. This whole Bill Belichick thing with the girlfriend, and now the family's involved.
We've got an extra layer today.
Oh, we'll get to that next here on the halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, David Dare. We are going till 3 here on the game. We're yapping a lot of football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors here on the game. All right, this Bill Belichick thing is so weird in so many ways. It's not, look, man, is Bill Belichick the first old guy to go out with a really young girl? No. Usually it's really rich old guys. Because let's face it, not to be mean.
He's rich.
He's very rich. But my point is, if Bill Belichick was, I don't know, working at the Buc-ee's, I don't think Bill Belichick's pulling Jennifer Hudson or whatever her name is, the girlfriend.
Yeah, Jordan Hudson.
No
relation to Jennifer.
Jennifer Hudson's a singer.
Yeah, I checked.
That's right. She was American Idol or whatever. But yeah, so Jordan Hudson probably wouldn't go. I met this great older guy at Buc-ee's, and I love him. And he gets paid like $22 an hour to make sure they have the cleanest bathrooms. I don't think that.
Yeah, no.
going on.
If Bill Belichick's working at Buc-ee's, says hi to her, she ignores him.
Or gets a restraining order against them, one of the two.
Like, oh, somebody's grandpa. How nice.
Exactly. He's a sweet
they pay
little man.
$22 an hour?
It's like $20 an hour to clean the bathrooms.
Dave, you can't
at Buc-ee's.
leave. You got to stay here, Dave.
I mean, well, that's like $8 more an hour than Dave's making now. So that's why he's sitting there going, what?
Dave, who's going to merge the logs if you leave? Please don't.
Yeah, really. I don't want to go back to doing that again, Dave. I really don't. I was happy to get rid of that. Anyway, so is that the first time we've seen something like this? It won't be the last. You know, Anna Nicole Smith was with that weird 80-some-year-old guy.
A week before he died.
Yeah. So it's not the first time we've seen it. It won't be the last.
Hugh Hefner.
Well, there was a line of them.
Yeah.
Again, no offense to you, but he was wearing that smoking jacket working at Buc-ee's. It's not the same effect.
No, definitely not.
Not the same effect. So let's push that aside for a minute because we've all had our thoughts about it.
Sure.
But what's becoming disturbing was this CBS Sunday morning interview where our girl Jordan Hudson is sitting off to the side of the interview and she's interjecting out of nowhere during the interview. Basically, the thing when the reporter says, "Oh, Bill, how'd you guys meet?" And she goes, "We're not answering that."
Very simple question, by the way.
Yep.
How'd you meet?
Which a lot of people would answer that with no problem. Also, the word was that she delayed the interview a half an hour. She was walking in and out and being disruptive the whole time.
Yep.
And that's just not professional, and that's not what you want. And Bill needed to basically check her.
Yes.
Is what he needed to do at that point.
Or just have not brought her in general.
Well, why you bring her is beyond me. If she's not going to sit with you and do the interview, she shouldn't be there, right?
Right.
So the whole thing is a little bizarre. But, of course, Bill's former players, you got Gronk, and you've also got Julian Edelman. They're going to take up for their guy. And cut 11, Dave. Here's Julian Edelman and Rob Gronkowski defending Belichick over the whole CBS interview fiasco.
Coach Belichick and this whole interview thing with Jordan, people are giving an unfair reality of what's going on because she was jumping into that conversation during the interview just like any PR person would jump in when there's an unnecessary question that probably didn't go over in the pre-production meeting. From what I've heard, Jordan is playing the Bears role, handling all the football ops, handling a lot of his social, a lot of his PR. When you look at this situation and you say, oh, this is his girlfriend jumping in, I think that's unfair. I think she's actually working with Coach Belichick in the professional world, and she probably went and said, hey, no, we're not doing that. Doesn't that always happen whenever you do an interview? Do you not have a representative there?
Yeah, she's becoming his representative on top of being a girlfriend. No one's really put this hand in hand together. When your name is Jordan and you're on the University of North Carolina Tar Heels campus, you're God.
Never thought about it.
You're untouchable if your name is Jordan.
They're winning the Natty this year, potentially. I got them in the bowl.
There we go. They'll win the Natty. Got him in the bowl. Yeah.
That's it. Gronk figured it out for the rest of us. That's the thing.
Way to go, Gronk. So, of course, they're going to take up. And here's the thing.
Sure, which I get.
But here's the deal on this. Have there been PR people that sit in interviews with famous folks? Absolutely. But they don't like make the interview a half hour late because of whatever they're doing. They're not walking in and out disrupting things. They're basically sitting there, and what they're saying is they're protecting, but they're not making it about them. Does that make sense?
Yes, exactly.
They're sitting there quietly.
They're monitoring the situation.
Yes, and that's what they're doing, and that's not what she was doing.
She's not. So this goes a different level because Nikki Glaser, who I think was on the Tom Brady roast last year, she started doing stuff with like Amazon Prime. So she's a comedian. She's in the sports realm to some degree. she posted this clip of this video from Julian Edelman and Robert Gronkowski to her Instagram, and she says 100% this. She's acting as his publicist. Publicists do this during interviews. People are out for blood, saying, okay, maybe we are in the wrong here. A comment on this video is made by Jennifer Belichick, who is married to Steven, Bill's son, and the defensive coordinator for North Carolina. Jen's comment says publicists act in a professional manner and don't storm off the set during an interview. So we have somebody within the family saying this now.
Which is making this even more interesting and juicy.
Yesterday, by the way, because Jordan on her Instagram put out the email that Bill supposedly wrote, which I'll believe that when I see it, the other day, and she referenced a press release coming out soon. Comes out yesterday, allegedly, from Bill Belichick. And to sum it up, he says, I clearly communicated with my publicist at Simon & Schuster that any promotional interviews I participated in would agree to focus solely on the contents of the book that's coming out, being written about his life and coach of the Patriots and all those kind of things. Well, hours after that, CBS's PR team says, when we agreed to speak to Mr. Belichick, it was a wide-ranging interview. There were no preconditions or limitations to the conversation. This was confirmed repeatedly with his publisher before the interview took place and after it was completed.
Yes.
That's from CBS.
So, and CBS isn't going to do that, right? Unless they've got the paper trail.
Yeah, they're kind of pros at this, you know what I mean?
Right. So it's one of those things where I get Bill, I understand Bill, but he's taken up, first of all, he's taken up for himself and his girl. And I know what he's doing. I get it. But at the end of the day, this whole thing has just gotten weird. There's concern at North Carolina that she's on the field during practice. All this stuff. We don't have time today to pick through the psychological angles of this, and one day we will, because there's something going on here.
Yeah.
There's really, the ultimate control freak feels like he's being controlled or has lost control of his personal life.
There is going to be a, crescendo and a fallout from this. I just don't know when it comes, but it feels like it's coming soon.
You know what we're not talking about?
Football.
Football.
The thing that he was hired to do.
His transfer portal class ranking, not very good. His recruiting ranking through high school, not very good. Again, it's his first year, to be fair. But there are some legitimate conversations to have about the early stages of the Belichick regime in North Carolina. And all we're talking about is his girlfriend and him and making Instagram pictures.
And now you've placed even more pressure on yourself, because the second something's not going right in the fall, if he even makes it that far, it's like, what does Jordan have to do with this?
Right.
What is her? Is she calling plays now? Like, is she installing the defense? Like, what's going on here? Like, you've just created such a cloud of controversy around yourself in this program. It's embarrassing, and that's why North Carolina's freaking out about it.
You've added another layer, and by the way, you're paying him $10 million.
Yes.
See, if it were me, and the way Belichick was hired, the AD, Bubba Cunningham, didn't hire him, remember?
Right.
It was the people above Bubba Cunningham who wanted.
And even that hiring process was a mess.
Very, very messy. So who's going to be the adult in the room to say, hey, Hoodie, can you come here for a minute and shut the door? Hey, look, man, we love you. You're obviously the greatest head coach in the history of all head coaches. But can you do me a favor? Can you keep your girl off the practice field? And could you have your girl not be a story?
The problem is she's in the room with him while he's
doing
saying
it,
this.
right. And she's going, we're not going to answer that.
Yeah.
We're not.
By the way, I told you this earlier. They're probably drawing straws, so you have to have that conversation.
Because none of them want it. Because, again, a lot of these guys are, for lack of a better term, called jock sniffers.
Sure.
They're like, ooh, we got Bill Belichick in the room. He's telling stories. This is so cool. I swear to God, this is awesome. So that's kind of what you're dealing with. NFL draft, it's done. Let's get the thoughts of Jason Lockenfora, who covers the NFL draft and the NFL for about 50 different people. We'll get Jason's thoughts next on what happened the past weekend here on the Halftime Show as we talk football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors on the Game. What we're talking about is nothing but football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors on the Game. Get my buddy Jason Lock-and-4 in here. Let's see, he does his own show in Baltimore, 2 to 6, 3 to 7, whatever the hell you're doing these days. Also, you're still Honesty Football Insider, writing for the Washington Post. Do you do something for HGTV too? I've lost track of you. What are you doing?
I'd like to. If you know somebody over there, point them my way. I could barely hammer a nail, but I'll pretend. I mean, hey. You never have too many jobs, Terry Ford. You never have too many jobs.
I was going to say, Jason, who sleeps less, you or Terry?
You know what? I don't know. I got to say, I have no idea about Terry Ford's nocturnal activities, and that's probably for the best. I think that's absolutely for the best.
You don't need to know any of that, Jace. Trust me.
Yes, I got enough on my plate.
Right.
I could not answer that question.
Hey, bud, I know you only have a few minutes, so we'll try to go through this quick. I mean, first of all, your edited version of your thoughts on the Shedeur Sanders quote-unquote fall in the NFL draft.
Yeah, I mean, it does still shock me on some levels that it went that extreme. It went that far that this kid was still sitting in his house on Saturday wondering what NFL team was going to employ him, at least for some period of time. Like, I clearly he did not elicit positive responses from many of the people he interacted with through this process, but he also had a pretty decorated college career. I mean, to see the little kid from Oregon get drafted ahead of him and then to end up on that same team, rounds later. I mean, I still have a hard time wrapping my head around that. I understand that it wasn't the most big boy offense in the world that Sherman was running there. And I know it was a lot of high percentage passes. And I know he took too many first down sacks and held the ball too long. But I think it's kind of because it was a little bit of like a four-man football team. And so there were, 4 or 5 kids who felt like they had to be Hercules to get that program where they wanted it to go. And a lot of them did the same thing at Jackson State. So I don't know, man. Like, I wouldn't totally discount this kid. Now, maybe the Browns don't even give him a fair shot. Maybe the owner just wanted them to do that. Maybe he has to go somewhere else first. But, like, if you're going to tell me he's the 6th or 7th quarterback picked in that draft, and he's going to have the 6th or 7th best/worst quarterback career of all those kids picked, I doubt it. I bet he plays in the league for a long time, but he's got to be in the right place, and I'm not certain that Cleveland is the right place.
Let's jump to the top of the draft. Cam Ward obviously goes number 1 overall. Overall, a fairly weak quarterback class compared to last year's and what we expect for 2026. Terry and I were talking about does not have a lot of weapons around him by any means. What's the success rate of Cam Ward out there in Tennessee in year number 1?
Well, I mean, I think we have to look at the organization. I mean, what has that owner accomplished? Like, what has she done that's looked particularly heady? I mean, they over-empowered a GM instead of Vrabel, and then they blew out the GM, and then they got sick of Vrabel, and, now they've brought in Callahan, and he was supposed to save Will Levis, who they never should have been in that market to begin with, but they were convinced Levis was a thing, and then they gave away Malik Willis. I can tell you this, a lot of smart football evaluators would love to get their hands on Malik Willis. Ain't nobody pining for Will Levis. So, like, I don't know. It takes a village to raise a quarterback. That's been that town village has had a whole lot of. They haven't had one village idiot. They've had village idiots like that. That town's been crawling with village idiots. So, I don't know, man. Like, how stable is it? Does Callahan have to win with this kid right away, or are they taking a long, holistic view of this thing? I just have a hard time vouching. Like, same thing with the Giants. Like, if the Giants think Jackson Dart's the second best quarterback in the draft, or they would probably tell you the first best, then I would fade the hell out of that kid, because when have the Giants gotten it right at quarterback? I mean, they couldn't even handle a graceful exit for Eli, and it's been one debacle after the next since then. So, I think if timing is everything in this business, and I believe in that kid and I believe in his talent, but so many organizations have failed so many talented kids over time, and I just don't know about that ownership group, and I just don't know about that management group.
Jason Lock-and-4, NFL Insider, hanging out with us on the halftime show, Yapping NFL Draft here on the Game. All right, Jace, what team in your mind, maybe we're not giving them enough credit for how good of a draft they had. Maybe an under-the-radar group of guys.
I really like what Arizona's done. And when I say it's not really me. It's me talking to a lot of evaluators I know and trust. And, who are your favorite kids or your favorite under the radar kids? Like, who are the kids that Mock Draft Nation is completely, missing the boat on? And, Arizona ended up with some of them. I think Calais Campbell tutoring Walter Nolan has a chance to be really impactful. And that division is not exactly great shakes. I mean, if Matt Stafford gets hurt, I think could be wide open. Like, I think Seattle's decent, and I don't like Kyler Murray, and I don't know that Arizona's going to make a leap. But if you're just talking about, like, what they did last weekend, I was pretty impressed by them. I think as a bias here because I'm in Baltimore, but I'm no Ravens pom-pom guy. Like, I think, Malachi Starks is like a quintessential Ravens defensive back. And with what they already have back there, I think it's going to fit pretty well. And I'm old enough to remember when they allegedly had a zero-tolerance policy from the owner on down about players with domestic violence or, allegations of violence by women or children against them. Like, I remember when that was supposed to be a non-starter, and now they're still employing a scumbag kicker. And they drafted a guy, Mike Green, who had very serious allegations, multiple, against him. But in the second round, that kind of pass rush, I don't know what kind of career he's going to have. I don't know what kind of human being he's going to be. They're going to have to make sure they get that right. But that's him as a designated pass rusher is a real upgrade over like David Ajabo and Darius Robinson and these guys they've been running out there in some of those looks. Like, I think he's a better pass rusher than Owe right now, and, Owe's going into year 5 or whatever. So, they've got to get – everybody talks about Lamar in the playoffs. Like, this offense is ridiculous. This offense was scoring in the playoffs. The defense has created no turnovers for Lamar in the playoffs. They've given Lamar no short fields in the playoffs. They don't sack the quarterback in the playoffs. Like, they don't have any dudes you have to worry about. And if Mike Green becomes a dude you have to worry about off the edge, that's the kind of thing that could take them to the next level.
Go back to the top of the draft. Travis Hunter goes 2 to the Jaguars, and Abdul Carter goes 3 to the Giants, thought to be generational type talents in their own respective ways. Who's going into the better situation? Who can have success quicker out of those two guys?
Well, the Travis Hunter thing, I don't have comps for that. If they can work out a division of labor where they figure out what a reasonable work day is for him, not an 18-hour work day, but a reasonable work day that doesn't kill him, that allows him to maximize his time in the wide receiver room and in the DB's room. If that's a smart coaching staff, and it's a brand new coaching staff, so I don't know how smart they are. Just because somebody worked under Sean McVay doesn't mean they can run their own football team. So we'll see. But, like, if it's a smart coaching staff and they find a way to maximize his talents, I still think that's not a very good football team, and I still think Trevor Lawrence is not a very good quarterback. It's certainly not a consistent quarterback. But, he has a chance to do some pretty special stuff. And, look, I think the Giants have a chance to have a really good defensive line as well. But when you give up that much capital to make the trade they made, they traded for 2 football players. They, in essence, Jacksonville paid the freight of, like, acquiring a quarterback or acquiring 2 first-round picks. So they've got to develop him like, the unicorn two-way player that he was in college.
Everybody, Jason Lockett for NFL Insider. I know you got to go do really important things, so I'm going to let you bounce, my man. I appreciate you like always, pal.
My pleasure. Get some sleep tonight, Terry. Nothing else.
That's right. See you, dude.
Gentlemen.
Have a good one, bud. Oh, man. Yeah, he knows what I used to do. Anyway, those court documents have also been sealed.
That's why you can't go back to Baltimore.
That's why, exactly. Well, I can't, like, no one's around, like, at night. You get in there and get back out of there for the authorities.
That's where you have to use your fake name.
Exactly. My fake name, David Dare, that I've been using.
Dave, don't go to Baltimore.
Yeah, trust me, Dave, you don't want that smoke.
And you stay away from West Columbia.
Real quick, to Jason's point, and this is a point that we've hammered home before, but let's hammer the nail one more time. Shedeur Sanders fell in this draft the way he did because of the way he interviewed.
Yep.
Right? And the way he carried himself to teams and all these other things. As far as we know, has Shedeur Sanders committed any major felonies?
No.
Has he assaulted anyone?
No.
Has he been on an episode of Cops being taken away in cuffs after beating someone?
No.
Mike Green at Marshall, 2 alleged sexual assaults. Not 1, 2. Now, again, nothing has come to, like, trial or indictments or anything, but 2 incidents of alleged sexual assault. He goes in the second round to the Ravens.
Yep.
You know why Mike Green goes in the second round? Shedeur Sanders goes in the 5th round? One has high level to be an excellent game-changing player, and the other looks like he could be pretty good.
Yeah.
Again, NFL teams, if they have their choice, will take the guy with the alleged sexual assaults, who's not going to be a problem in the locker room and could ball out at a huge level on the field, than the guy who doesn't have any of that stuff off the field, but could not affect the game as much, and in the locker room could be a bigger problem.
Yeah.
That's the reality of the NFL.
Their job's to win.
Your gig is to win games.
However you can.
And everything else, you'll figure it out as you go along, including how do we explain away these things.
Yep.
That's the way it is, man. That's the reality of the NFL. And if you're a fan of the team that drafts this guy, you will take up for him and make excuses for him as long as he helps you win games.
Pretty much.
That's the way it goes, man. I've lived it. I've seen it. I've watched it. Firehouse Subtext the hour next, 803-404-6100 on the halftime show here on the game. Firehouse Sub text the hour 803-404-6100 here on the Halftime Show. What do you got there on the old text machine, pal?
Let's see here. Nameless texture. This is in reference to Arch Manning. If he was all that, he would have already been playing.
You know, this was running. That's a great text, and thank you for that text.
A lot of L's in that all, by the way.
I was going to bring this up when we were going back and forth. When you said, and I agree with you, you know, he played in 3 games against black competition. He didn't set the world on fire in those games. He had moments where you went, okay, I see it.
Sure.
Then you had moments where you said, yeah, but he's still a work in progress. To the texter's point, was there a name on that? Or was it anonymous?
Anonymous.
Hey, Anonymous, to your point, I was sitting here thinking this. Quinn Ewers went in the 7th round of the NFL draft.
Yes.
So Quinn Ewers, the NFL does not look at Quinn Ewers at this point as a guy who is a starting quarterback in the NFL, like a franchise-type quarterback in the league.
Yes.
There were times last year when you watched Quinn Ewers and you were like, ugh. I mean, everybody talked about Shedeur Sanders in the pocket. The minute you breathed near Quinn Ewers, I mean, he had happy feet. He's trying to get out of there. He's looking down. I mean, Quinn Ewers had some serious issues. Never got benched for Arch Manning. And when Arch Manning played in the Georgia game, to your point,
yeah, he had a chance.
I agree with you 1,000,000% on this. And we talked about that next Monday on the air.
Yep.
If Arch Manning goes in there and leads Texas to a touchdown drive, he's a starting quarterback at Texas.
Yeah, and he's not relinquishing that for the end of the year because they were down 20-0.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing was happening with Ewers out there. So Sark said, what the heck? Let's give it a shot. And he had his opportunity to go out there and take the reins. And again, that's not as good as it's been in years past. Still a very good Georgia defense. So the competition you're going up against was high caliber, but you didn't prove yourself then. And Ewers came in and they put some points on the board, but obviously ended up losing that game. But there's your chance.
That was your chance right there to take the reins of the starting quarterback gig, and you didn't do it. And there were times Ewers through the years struggled, and they still didn't go to Arch Manning.
And think about Sark was answering this question all season last year, like, hey, any chance Arch Manning becomes a guy? And he kept saying, Ewers is my guy, Ewers is my guy. I rode with him through the end of the season. If he thought, and again, they had a very talented roster.
Mm-hmm.
If he thought Ewers was holding that team back, why would he keep putting him out there at quarterback? He knew, in his opinion and his evaluation, Sark's been around for a long time, he was the best option to play quarterback last year, and that's why he started the entire season.
And to that point farther, if Sark thought that Manning was better,
why do you have him on the
ready,
bench?
Sark would have played him.
And again, he used him situationally because, again, he had a running ability, and obviously he's a bigger guy than Ewers was, but that was it. And outside of when Ewers got hurt for a couple games, he used him in situations, and that was it. If he thought he was a better option, he would have been playing.
And here's the other point. If you looked at you put the breakdown, how PFF and SEC StatCat will break down how you throw 0 to 9 yards, 10 to 19 yards, plus 20 yards. Arch Manning's numbers through those different, spots on the field were better than Quinn Ewers. So stats were better in some ways. Ewers at times struggled. That offense sometimes struggled. Sark never pulled the trigger.
But again, how many lockdown corners was he going up against in those games against UTSA and Mississippi State and what other G5 school
all those guys
went
in the first round.
Exactly. Like, this is
wasn't Mississippi State too? They played,
yeah,
I thought.
Yeah, it was Mississippi State was one of the games that he started, I think. But again, he wasn't going up against the highest level of competition. Quinn Ewers was.
So maybe what we're saying is Arch wasn't ready.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean he can't be ready by this season and develop and be further ahead this year of where Quinn Ewers was a year ago. But up to this point, and I agree with the mock draft not having him in there, we don't know yet.
No, we don't. We absolutely don't.
And again, college football wants this to be a thing so bad. Because, again, his name, he's popular, helps draw eyes to the sport. I get it. But we don't know yet. We'll see.
And that's the thing, is like the unknown goes even further because, the door was open multiple times last year to take the job.
Yep.
And if Steve Sarkisian knows he's not being judged on loyalty to upperclassmen, I think that's gone now for the most part. I shouldn't say completely, but it's gone compared to what he used to be. Steve Sarkisian knows his job is to get the college football playoff.
Yes.
Is to win big. That's what you do at Texas. If at any moment Steve Sarkisian thought Arch Manning was the better option to start a quarterback than Quinn Ewers, he would have said, Quinn, no offense, it's business. Love you. Yeah, cute beard with no mustache. You look pretty, but Arch Manning starting.
Yeah.
That's
Pretty
what would
much.
have happened.
Yeah.
So to that point, Arch Manning, again, we don't know because he was not at the development spot to become the starting quarterback. And this year, now it's his. Let's see if he's developed to the point that a lot of people hope he's going to be at. Because there's no guarantee. No guarantee. Good text. That was a good text. That's some good ones today so far. 803-404-6100 Firehouse Sub. Text the hour. We'll hit it again in the 2 o'clock hour. What's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. We didn't really talk about this. You knew that Brad Brownell, the Clemson head basketball coach, got a new contract, right?
Yep.
You hear about the clause in this contract?
I did not.
I'm going to tell you about it next here on the halftime show in the game. Halftime show, What's Trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry, Gamecock Traditions here on the game. If you have not heard, Gianna Neepkins, they far and away the highest rated women's basketball player left in the portal, high-level scorer, whether it's from two-point range, three-point range, the free throw line, 50% from the floor, 40% from three, 89% from the free throw line. Neepkins visited South Carolina the weekend of the spring game.
Yep.
It was down to South Carolina or UCLA for Neepkins. Neepkins today chose UCLA, so we'll never talk about her again.
Until
She's
you
now dead to
see
us.
her on the schedule at some point, which is very likely.
I mean, if you would have gotten Neepkins to go with what you already have, it would have been great. But still, South Carolina did excellent job in the portal. They look once again stacked to get ready for next basketball season. So again, Gianna Neepkins going to UCLA, committed to UCLA.
Yep.
So just in case you missed that. Also, what's trending at 2, we have baseball coming up tomorrow versus Florida, starting at 6:45, pregame, 7 o'clock, first pitch. South Carolina, basically, if you're looking at the formula of winning 13 games to get to the postseason, to get into the dance, South Carolina can only lose one more game the rest of the year.
Yep, got to have 2 sweeps, which, again, that's asking a lot in baseball in general, but especially being down 2 of your better offensive players at this point in time.
You basically can only lose one game the rest of the regular season.
Good luck.
And that's where you're at. And you're playing a ranked LSU, you're playing a ranked Auburn, and a Florida team that might be playing their best baseball since really maybe the entire season.
Yep.
So that's what you got coming up in the SEC. You got, you just can't lose. You can lose one game the rest of the year to get you where you need to be. So we'll see where everything goes regarding pitching matchups and things of that nature. I wonder if TBA is going to go again on Sunday. It's our favorite new pitcher.
Oh, yeah. Great question.
It feels like we're going to see it's Stone McCoy Eskew if Eskew's healthy, right?
Hold on. Let me
see if we've gotten any
let me
announcement
check
today.
with our correspondent, Jack, and see if we've got any updates.
Yeah, see if we have. I haven't looked, but I feel like that's the way it's going to go. Stone McCoy Eskew. That's the feeling. And got anything?
TBA on Sunday.
TBA,
Stone McCoy, TBA.
So I guess they're monitoring Eskew. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, which, again, we've been in this boat plenty of times before. Also worth noting, Petrie out as expected, and Maneri is keeping his fingers crossed with Nathan Hall to be ready by tomorrow night.
So think about that. You've got to play Florida, a key SEC series where you have no wiggle room at all, and you don't have your best offensive player in Ethan Petrie, and your second best offensive player, Nathan Hall. You're crossing your fingers. So we will see what happens, but that's the deal there. Brandon Stone will take the ball.
I don't love the odds.
No, you just don't. I mean, you're going to wish and hope and everything else, but yeah, the odds are very difficult for this team.
Yep.
They're going to have to find a way to grind out some runs. The pitching has got to stand up, especially the bullpen, which is giving away a bunch of leads late. And offensively, who's going to be the guys? Who's going to be the guys? And your starting pitchers obviously have to, you want them to be dominant, but at least keep you in the game to where you can, manufacture these runs that you need since you don't have a lot of power anyway.
Sure.
So that's kind of the latest there for us, South Carolina baseball, as we take a look moving forward for what's left of the season. Men's basketball, Lamont Paris announcing his 6 transfers today. Just saw that coming over my email. And again, it doesn't mean they still have some roster spots available. But then all the transfers that are coming in. It's not like anybody new is in here for South Carolina. We see, obviously, Michi Johnson from Ohio State. Our guy, Chris and Asan. I'm going to try it again. Thank you. I've been so busy focusing on his first name.
I would say it was the first name we were screwing up.
Yep. Kobe Cox, who I think is an interesting player we're not talking enough about, from South Florida. Elijah Strong from Boston College. Then our guy Mike from Utah, Mongolian Mike.
You want to try that?
I got to get the V. Sheriff Champs. Sheriff Champs.
Sheriff Jamps or Sheriff Jumps, one of those. But
You got to stop and say the V.
I feel like Mongolian Mike's going to stick pretty quickly.
Because if you say it fast or say it like normal, you're going to lose the V.
Sure.
Sheriff Vamps or Vamps. And then Norden Kapik from San Diego. Again, none of them are a point guard. You have a lot of guys. You have a couple of guards in Knox and Michi. You have Essakon. Just do it, will you please? Jeez.
Essendoko.
Thank you. Essendoko as a big. You're true big. And look, last year at Providence, Essendoko, 2 years ago at St. Joe's, he had promise. He had like 36% of his threes 2 years ago for a big Essendoko. Then you have guys who are, Elijah Strong is really a prototypical type more 4. Then you got some perimeter guys like Mongolian Mike. Kapic is a forward that can hit. That has hit threes at times. Nobody here is a bucket getter,
right?
And nobody here is a point guard. Obviously, are you hoping that Eli Ellis can take over and be your point guard? I don't know. There's still point guards in the portal. You still have a Scully or two to give away.
Yeah, so I think if Studi comes back, you still have one more.
One left.
And again, there's your priority. But as we know, just because you go portal shopping with a need doesn't mean you're going to be able to get that. So we'll see. Again, can Michi Johnson be your guy? Sure. Do you want to rely on him being your guy? Ideally, no. Could Eli Ellis be your guy? Sure. Do you want to put your faith in a guy that's not played at this level yet, that is very much a shoot-first type of guy himself? Ideally, no. Yep. But that may be your only two choices.
Which, again, we have to see it play itself out. Lamont knows more basketball than I do, easily. But just from my perspective, if you're going into the season with your two options at the point being Eli Ellis or Michi Johnson, or if you're planning on interchanging them or whatever the case, I'm not super confident about that combination. And you don't have a true bucket getter. And now you can say, well, Tara, that means all 5 guys. And, well, you really don't have anybody on this roster right now. I mean, when Michi gets hot, Michi can take over a game, to be fair. But when Michi's ice cold, guess what?
That's the thing. And again, he didn't play a lot last year, so that's also an area of concern because he had stuff going on off the court. But, if Michi can be consistent, then okay, we're starting somewhere. But again, in his time here, you saw that was not the case with him. So is he able to magically flip the switch and through another offseason development, getting back here and all that kind of stuff? Can he finally be that consistent guy? We'll see. But until I see it happening, I'm not going to count on it.
And that's the thing. All these guys, there's some possibility or potential of something, but also looking at their resumes, you go, okay, these guys are going to take a jump or develop some stuff they haven't had before. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. I hope it all works out. I really do.
You'd love to say, you know what, if you could promise me that Michi's going to average somewhere between, 12 and 18 points every single game, as opposed to going, 30, 5, 24, 4, and then 29. I'd take the first option. You know what I mean? Because that's consistency.
You need consistency. On this roster, you're going to need consistency of guys who can put the ball in the hoop on a night-in, night-out basis. So we'll see where this goes. You don't have a bucket getter and you don't have a point guard. And if Miles Studi comes back, we'll see. You're going to have one scholarship. And look, Studi hasn't stayed healthy in 2 years at South Carolina.
Yeah.
He's given you some really nice moments over the last 2 years, especially 2 years ago, but stay healthy.
The unfortunate thing with blood clots, and again, we assume he's going to get the opportunity to come back, those things creep back up. It's not something that just happens once and goes away. This could become a consistent problem, not just in the basketball standpoint, but his life in general. So you can't be guaranteed that you're going to have him the entire year next year. It's great if you are, because he's a good, solid scorer.
He can make a 3.
But you don't know.
So all this is where it's at. But Lamont Paris announcing transfers coming in. That was announced today in an email we got in a press release. What's trending at 2, sponsored by Tristan's Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Tristan's. Here's what's trending. I'll give you one, Dave. You'll enjoy this. Or maybe you'll be disturbed. So my daughter, just talked to her on the phone. So my daughter yesterday, I get this text. Dad, I'm in urgent care, but everything's okay.
Oh, great text.
All right. So I text her, what's up, what's going on? And then she calls me. So basically, she's had some pain, and the pain in the area she's having, it could be a gallbladder thing or it could be an appendix thing.
Sure.
So they kept her in monitor, and they're giving her some like meds, and they're ruling out like the appendix thing. But it still could be some kind of gallbladder thing or whatever. So they gave her some medicine. They said, look, give it 24 hours, and if you still have the pain, we want you to come back in, or 24, 36 hours. So I talked to her on the phone. She's going to work. I go, how's the pain? It's still there, Dad. I goes, is it worse, better? She goes, it is better, but it's still there. I'm like, okay, so you taking the meds and all that? Yeah. All right, good. I said, well, if you still have the pain because she's off from school and work tomorrow. No, she has school, but she doesn't have work, and school's like a half day. So I said, okay, so tomorrow, if you're not feeling any better, I think you should go back to the doctor and just see what's up. Well, Dad, I've got my vocal lesson tomorrow, and then after my vocal lesson, Dad, I'm going to get a tattoo. So I can't do anything until after I do my vocal lesson and get my tattoo.
Priorities.
I'm like,
well, when you put it that way.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't want to interrupt the vocal lesson and the tattoo. So if you get through the vocal lesson and the tattoo and your gallbladder doesn't fall out, why don't you go over to the doctor?
If you have time, you can squeeze it into your schedule.
Can you get the tattoo at the urgent care? Can your vocal instructor go with you to the urgent care?
That's the thing, is like, as long as the tattoo's not in that same area, they can look at you down there, and then you get a tattoo on your arm or whatever.
No ink near my gallbladder.
Exactly.
I had a gallbladder almost explode on me one time. They had to emergency go in and take it out. They're not going to operate on her if she has a tattoo. Just recently.
I got a question, Dave. What hasn't happened to you?
Dave, your medical history is unfortunate.
He's like a medical marvel. What hasn't happened to you?
Well, the way they figured it out is that it would happen. I had to have intense pain every Sunday night at 7 o'clock. And the doctor asked me, so what do you do at 2 p.m. on Sunday? Yeah, I go to the steakhouse and have a big steak and have a french fries.
That's why.
And you immediately, it was gallbladder.
Now he just has an intense pain between noon and 3 every day.
It's prolonged.
But at 3:01, pain's gone. But yeah, so that's what's trending it too. Is my daughter's pushing off her trip to the doctor until she has her vocal lesson and then gets her tattoo.
Shouldn't get a tattoo.
Now she's
just in case.
I told her, I said, forget the tattoo. Just after the vocal, I just said after the vocal lesson, you should go to the doctor.
Is this the first tattoo, or she got?
Oh no, she's got a few.
It's like, okay, what's delaying this one, right?
But you know what it is, honestly, and I don't have any ink. Because the only time in my life I wanted to get ink is after I've had a few too many.
Sure.
Then I'd stumble in some tattoo parlor. The guy, go get the hell out of here. We can't give you a tattoo because of the blood alcohol
Who is
level.
Bob?
What was the one commercial where they do this? They screw up the tattoo.
Yeah.
They put the wrong name on. Yeah, that'd be mine. So anyway, I don't have any ink. I don't do ink. I did earrings like a maniac when I was younger, but I don't do ink.
But that cartilage grows back.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean. You can't tell now. So she's a lot of people I know people who have tats, and they go, once you get one or two, it's almost like you're addicted. She's got like 3 or 4, and she's going to go get another one or whatever. And plus, she's a singer and all this other stuff. So, So that tattoo is more important than her gallbladder.
They don't let you into art school if you don't have tattoos, right?
Well, she couldn't sing. They said, look, if you want to come to the University of Colorado and be a music vocal major, you need some ink.
Yeah. It's part of the process, admissions process.
So anyway, there's what's trending too. My daughter's a goober.
Have fun with that.
I love her to death. She's a goober.
Hope you don't wake up to a worse text in the hospital, but I'm all right.
Or a picture of her gallbladder.
Yeah.
That's what I don't need. You know what's more fascinating about this is I don't think there's any part of Dave's body that they haven't taken out or they almost took out. All right, what's trending it too? Sponsored by Tristan's Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. We will circle back and get you the story of Brad Brunell's contract. It's interesting. Next on the game. All right, what's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry, Gamecock Traditions. David Ayer punching the buttons. Tyler Head hanging here with us, Terry Ford, on the game.
We got Dave's full medical history during the break.
I'm telling you, Dave, you are a medical marvel. The fact that you're still alive and breathing.
It's amazing.
I'm going to say this. You know that old dumb joke we talk about is like, you know, if a nuclear bomb gets dropped, there's nothing but something in cockroaches.
Yeah, Dave's going to outlive us all.
Now it's going to be whatever, cockroaches and Dave.
Me and Keith Richards, man, we'll be hanging out.
Well, the fact that Keith Richards is still alive is a medical miracle. He's the one guy that's more amazed. I'm more amazed he's alive than you, Dave.
Remember that rumor they had to change his blood?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, again, you know, back in the old days, it's politically incorrect. When I was doing morning shows and music, you would do these Deadpools. What celebrity's going to die?
Yep.
Every year, in the first 3 picks was Keith Richards. Dude's still alive. Remember, he outlived some of the guys who was doing those Deadpools. Matter of fact, on the air and radio.
He always gets the last laugh.
Yeah, huh? All right, so what's trending to? This is interesting. So Brad Brunell at Clemson, head basketball coach, got a contract extension. Clemson went to the Elite Eight 2 years ago, had a very good season in the ACC this past year, even though they got upset in the first round by McNeese State.
Yep.
They're Indiana. I don't know if this was real, because Brownell's from Indiana, and I don't know if Brownell's agent leveraged, quote-unquote, wink-wink Indiana interest to get Brownell a new deal at Clemson, but Brad Brownell gets a new 6-year, $27.5 million contract extension. Here is the interesting part of this. Brownell has a clause in his contract, according to the story. He has an option of stepping down as head coach and becoming a special assistant to the athletic director at an annual salary of $250,000 a year for the remainder of the contract. He's got to exercise that option by April 15th of any given year. So basically,
interesting.
After a season, he has a clause in the contract. He can walk up to the athletic director and say, "Hey, bub, I'm going to exercise the clause in the contract to become a special assistant to you, and you pay me $250,000 a year."
We are in an era of a lot of change in college sports. Nick Saban, Tony Bennett, we've seen a lot of these high-profile guys say, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to go ahead and retire. I've accomplished what I'm going to accomplish. Is that not like the perfect out where you say, you know what, if I get fed up with this, I can just go into an administrative role, guarantee myself, $250,000 every single year and not have to deal with all this stuff?
Yeah.
That's genius.
Yeah. Think about that for a minute. And you make a great point of that. Now, instead of just quitting and making nothing,
boom,
you can walk up and say, "Okay, dude, I'm kind of done with the head coaching gig. I'll be assistant to you, and you can pop me a check for $250,000.
Yeah.
We good?"
Yeah. Boom. There you go.
It's almost like that golden parachute we talk about all the time.
Exactly. You have your out. And he is not going to be the last guy to have this kind of thing in his contract, I'm sure. I think there's a lot of other coaches out there looking at this saying, that's a good idea. Why didn't I think of that?
It's a great idea. Think about that. Let's take it to any job. Wouldn't you love, if you are under contract for a gig, wouldn't you love to have some clause you can walk in and go, you know what, I really don't want to do that anymore, but for a pretty good amount of money, I'll do this now.
Yeah. Because that's the thing is, he's obviously a very good basketball coach, and yeah, they got upset in the first round, but deep run last year, he's not going to get fired anytime soon. Ball's in his court with this. When he decides, you know what, I'm good, I'm going to bow out. And again, April 15th, that's right after the season ends, so he can make that decision pretty quickly, saying, you know what, I think I've come to the end of my rope on this. He's 56 years old, so, that retirement may not be all that far off anyway. So, you know what? I'm just going to go be an admin instead.
And basically what it is you're basically he would be just a glorified fundraiser.
Exactly.
I remember when Gary Williams, quote unquote, retired from being the head basketball coach at University of Maryland, he was given one of these kind of cushy jobs, the assistant to the athletic director, fundraiser. Basically, we're going to pay you a yearly salary because of all you've done for us in the past.
Exactly. And when you go to these fundraising events, people are a lot more inclined to give money when the former head coach goes up there and says, hey, guys, I know what success looks like. Open up your pocketbooks, as opposed to some other guy within the, admin that you don't know or have no clue who he is.
Edgar.
Exactly. Hey,
Right.
hey guys, help us out. Who are you?
Come on, guys, you gotta give us some money because we need money for the athletic program. They're going like, who's this schmo? Who's this schmo? And the other part of it with Gary was I think he actually gave him an office that he never went to.
Yeah, what are the purposes of the office?
It just, I mean, the thing had like cobwebs all over it and everything.
You play solitaire on the computer.
Yeah, I mean, just, so that's just these things do happen, but it is in Brad Brunell's contract, which I thought was pretty interesting.
That's smart. I mean, and again, I don't think he's going to be the last one to do this.
Very interesting. All right, what's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. Reese Davis, last time we saw Reese Davis, he was fighting with Mel Kiper on the set of the NFL draft as Mel continued to scream at clouds about Shedeur Sanders.
He had to put Mel in timeout.
And Mel was just, I love him. Mel's hair almost moved. He was so mad. Reese Davis responded. Reese Davis talked about this, kind of gave a quote about the whole thing when asked about it. Quote, people, because again, Louis Riddick was with Reese Davis on the single, and Mel,
like,
enough.
Chill.
Come on, dude.
Again, this was after Shedeur was drafted.
This is after Shedeur was drafted. They're like, Mel, relax. It's over. Because Mel just went, NFL people, and just went insane. And so Reese Davis just kind of talking about the whole thing. Quote, people can disagree and can still be very fond of each other and still like each other and still be laughing and joking in between sets during commercial breaks. We were together at the end, and, Mel is not a touchy-feely kind of guy, but we, kind of half-hugged it on the way out. And it wasn't because, hey, let's make up over disagreeing over the draft position of Shedeur Sanders. It was more because we worked together on the draft for the last few years. We like each other. We get along. We enjoy working together. For whatever reason, we probably wouldn't lay eyes on each other again until the 2026 draft. So it's like, hey, hope everything's great, and, there's no animosity, whatever. Because it wasn't uncomfortable, but it was, like, fascinating to watch.
It was. And again, especially at that level, that's ESPN, right? There's a level of professionalism that we expect everybody to have. And, yeah, we have the talk shows where guys go on rants and all those kind of things, but what Mel was doing was definitely going over the line of what we typically expect in those kind of things, to where your co-host saying, hey, shut up, you sound like a spoiled child right now.
Well, you got to dial it back, bro. And it was one of those things. But honestly, look, I like Mel, but it had to be done at someone had to do it at some point.
Well, 1,000%.
It was like, okay, man, we get it. Enough. So that was pretty interesting from Reese Davis. Hey, today is May 1st, man.
It's going to be May.
Yes, it is.
I meant to cue that up earlier. I forgot.
Hey, we can fire it up coming back.
Yeah, we can.
It's the greatest day in the history of the world. A bunch of iconic historical things happened on this day. It's a pretty cool day in the greatest day in the history of the world. That's coming up next here on the Halftime Show. David Dare running the show. Tyler Heads here. Terry Ford. We go till 3 on the game. Oh, May 1st is the greatest day in the history of the world. Here on the Halftime Show. We like old school. We love a little old school in this thing. Go way back in the old days. We got some old school ones here. 1891. Legendary pitcher Cy Young wins his first game. Wins the first game played at Cleveland's League Park, I should say. And they named an award after him. Must be pretty good. 1891. 1920, you might have heard of this guy, Babe Ruth, hits his first home run as a New York Yankee. Whatever happened to that guy? And 1926, Hall of Fame pitcher Satchel Paige, at 19 years old, debuts in the Negro Southern League. Some old school stuff for you there. One other one real quick. 1951, future Hall of Famer Mickey Mantle hit his first career home run, and they say he was sober. They say Mickey was sober when he first hit that home run. 1965, Montreal Canadiens win the Stanley Cup. Took 7 games. They took out the Chicago Blackhawks again, 1965. Canadians used to win this thing a lot. They haven't won the Stanley Cup, so I believe it's 1991 the last time Montreal. It's the last time I think a Canadian team won the Stanley Cup, matter of fact. This day in 1969, Leonard Toews buys the Philadelphia Eagles for a professional sports record at the time. Ready for this? $16 million. Bought the Eagles for $16 million. Players make $16 million now. And that team got to a Super Bowl when Toews was the owner under Dick Vermeil, if my memory serves me, and they lost to the Oakland Raiders, if my memory serves me. Also, greatest day in the history of the world, May 1st, 1984. Irving Fryer, Nebraska wide receiver, first pick overall by the New England Patriots. Fryer hung out in the NFL. It wasn't like a great player at all, but not a total bust, but never, ever came close to the potential that a number 1 overall pick should reach. 1988, Michael Jordan scores 50 points in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Playoff Series, in an Eastern Conference Playoff Series. Let me do that again. After scoring 50 points in Game 1 of an NBA Eastern Conference Playoff Series, Michael Jordan then scores 55 in Game 2 against the Cleveland Cavaliers as well, the first player to score 50-plus points in consecutive playoff games. 1991, Nolan Ryan throws his 7th no-hitter. I think he was, 72 years old at the time? Nolan Ryan on this day throws his 7th no-hitter on this day in 1991. Dave, get ready to click the little clicker here. Also on this day in 1991, Ricky Henderson of the Oakland A's sets a major league record by stealing his 939th base. That wipes Lou Brock from the record books as the all-time stolen base king. And then Ricky got the microphone and got to speak to the fans after stealing that bag. Ricky was standing on the infield, I believe it was in Oakland, when he broke the record and then spoke to the fans. Hit it, Dave.
First of all, I would like to thank God for giving me that opportunity. I want to thank the Haas family, the Oakland organization, the city of Oakland, and all y'all beautiful fans for supporting me. Most of all, I would like to thank my mom, my family, friend, and loved one for their support. I want to give my appreciation to the late Tom Trevorhard and the late Billy Martin. Billy Martin was a great manager. He was a great friend to me. I love you, Billy. I wish he was here. Luke Brock was the symbol of great base stealing. But today, I'm the greatest of all time. Thank you.
There you go. Lou Brock was the greatest, but guess what? Screw that guy. I'm the greatest now.
Hey, man.
I love Ricky.
He's not wrong.
No, he's not. I like when he almost said Tom Troublehorn was dead. The late, well, man, that guy's alive. Yeah. The late Billy Martin. Ricky's something else. You've heard the great Ricky. Now, they say that there are people who tell you this is true and people who tell you that it's not true. The Ricky Henderson, John Olerud story. John Olerud had a brain issue. I don't know if it was an aneurysm or what it was, but Olerud, because he had an issue involving his brain when he was at Washington State, wore a batting helmet when he played the field.
Right.
And so Ricky Henderson played with Olerud in Toronto, I believe it was. Then years later, Olerud's with the Mets and Ricky lands with the Mets. And Ricky Henderson gets on the bus at spring training with Olerud and goes, hey, yesterday you were wearing that batting helmet when you were in the field. Yeah, he goes, I played with a dude in Toronto that did the same thing. And Olerud goes, yeah, that was me. No, it wasn't you, but I played with a guy just like you. That was me, Ricky. Sure? That was me. Now, again, there are people who say that really happened and people say that didn't. But
Sure.
That's Ricky Henderson in a nutshell.
That's funny. I didn't realize he had just passed away back in December.
Yeah. I tell you what, the thing about Ricky Henderson in all seriousness, that was, I mean, if you think about it, he's a leadoff hitter. He walked a lot. His career on base percentage is ridiculous. He got on base a ton, and he could steal bases. And then also, you know what he could do? Hit you 25 home runs.
Mm-hmm.
Ricky Henderson was probably the ultimate leadoff weapon that I saw in my lifetime. Phenomenal offensive player. I mean, Ricky could beat you in a variety of ways. Ricky was great. You don't believe me? Ask Ricky. Ricky would have told you.
Ricky, not afraid to tell you.
Ricky was fantastic. Ricky Henderson, in his prime, Ricky Henderson, again, he was, as a leadoff hitter, he was unstoppable in his prime. So on this day, he broke Lou Brock's record. Also on this day in 1992, a year later, Ricky Henderson stole his 1,000th career base. Did not have a speech in the infield with a microphone.
No, I think you get one speech with that kind of thing.
Oh, now you were a wrestler.
Yes.
I'll throw you one. This
Sure.
day in 1993, Bruce Bumgardner wins his 11th straight national wrestling title in the 286-pound freestyle division at the U.S. Championships in Las Vegas. 11th straight national wrestling title.
That is, that's impressive.
Obviously, I believe that's still a record. I'm going to go on a limb, Tyler, and say that's still a record.
I can't think of anybody that would have eclipsed that. For one, that's a long career to be able to do that.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, that's crazy.
On this day in 2006, we'll do a little hockey real quick. The Detroit Red Wings were the winners of the President's Trophy, which means you led the NHL in points. Detroit, 124 points. Phenomenal year. They get eliminated in the first round for the third time in 5 postseasons. There is a thing in hockey called the Curse of the President's Cup. Basically, if you are the team with the best record in hockey, you're not winning the Stanley Cup. In the 37 years since they made the trophy a thing, only 8 teams who have had the best record in hockey have won the Stanley Cup. It's like you don't want to win the President's Cup.
It's like you didn't want to be on the cover of Madden back in the day.
Exactly. Same thing. It will not be good for you. So, and again, Detroit, another example of that in 2006 when they far and away the best record in hockey and got dumped in the first round. And some guy named Lionel Messi scores twice. He picked up his 600th goal for FC Barcelona on this day in 2019. Guy's pretty good.
Yep.
Pretty good. So that is the greatest day in the history of the world, May 1st. I told you, man, there's a ton of stuff today. A lot of firsts on this day, May 1st. You said you had this May thing you got here.
Those were Preston's requests.
Yeah.
I was not familiar with Maycember.
I'm not either.
Dave, you want to cue up cut number 12?
Cut 12 real quick,
This is
Dave.
apparently a thing that I did not know until yesterday.
Called Maycember.
Call Maycember.
Hit it, Dave.
Hey friends, welcome to Maycember. It's like all the craziness of December without all the fun cookies and twinkle lights.
Do you remember the time of year we call December? It's the end of the school year, it's when her calendar's a calamity. Yeah. There is a banquet and a covered dish, and you have to make it. A school picnic, you must bring a blanket, 'cause you're gonna be there all day. Yeah. Party girl, now we all remember. Party girl, how often it's December. Party girl, busy like Christmas, but we're still in May. Yeah.
I've never heard of this.
I didn't either until Preston sends me the most outlandish things sometimes that he wants for their show in the morning. So, and this is the Holderness Family Music channel on YouTube. And I literally pulled this up and I'm like, what the hell? To use a youth phrase, it was cringe watching this.
It was cringe.
So I sat through about a minute, got what I needed, and got out. But yes, Maycember is apparently a thing.
Have you ever heard of this Maycember, Adair?
Just when it comes to relationships.
With Dave, you ever notice with Dave, it always ends up going back to health or bad relationships.
Yeah, that's kind of the two constants in your life, isn't it, Dave?
And Larkin Poe and severance.
Yeah, the Larkin Poe is to deal with the other problems.
That's true. All right, June 1st, I'm going to see him in Nashville.
1 month. I'm going to Nashville in a couple weeks with my wife, and Dave's like, when are you going to be there? I told him the dates. He's like, well, Larkin Poe's not coming until the end of the month. I'm like, I'm going to have to reschedule now.
That's right. You got to change everything.
Got to cancel the hotel.
Larkin Poe, man.
All that stuff. Got to be there when Larkin Poe's there.
Hey, by
Playing
the way,
at the Ryman.
At the Ryman. We don't have time. I'd love to go to the Ryman, by the way. It's a bucket list for me. Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union Grand Slam giveaway is still happening. If a Gamecock batter hits a slam, you'll get cash. Pot goes up $25 every day. We're now at $350. So that's still a thing. Go to 1075thegame.com and register. We'll get our Firehouse Sub text the hour. We'll yip with our buddy Jay Phillips as we do our handoff, sponsored by Little Pigs on Alpine next here on the halftime show on the game. All right, time to get our Firehouse Sub text of the hour and also roll our hand off with our buddy Jay Phillips, sponsored by Little Pigs on Alpine. Firehouse Sub text of the hour, 803-404-6100. What do you got there, man?
First of all, I think we should ask Jay if he's familiar with Maycember.
That's true. Do you know what Maycember is?
You know what Maycember is?
No. I know what Maymesters are in college. I don't know what Maycember is.
I don't think we need to play the song again.
No, we don't do the other again because, again, a little cringy.
It's the, I guess, phenomenon that this month is incredibly busy with graduations and parties and banquets and all those kind of things that becomes overwhelming. There's apparently a song about it.
Okay.
Like December.
Okay.
Preston had me pull a song cut for that for their show this morning that we played a minute ago. Jacob says, this is the month I turn another year older and the kids take all my money for end of school year activities. I'd be good with skipping it. So he's over Maycember.
Who sings said Maycember?
It's one of those family YouTube channels.
Oh.
The Holderness Family Music.
Here, Phillips. Oh.
Yeah, no.
I thought it was somebody fun.
No, it's a parody of September.
Like
they take the song September and go Maycember.
Yeah, so that's basically what it is.
All right, my interest is piqued.
I cringed watching it last night, having to pull the sound.
Okay, my interest is piqued.
Yeah. Well, so nobody here except Preston knew what the hell Maycember was.
I had not heard of that. No,
I didn't know.
Makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but it was uncomfortable.
I do like the texter, though. It's my birthday. My kids are taking all my money with graduation and all this other
stuff.
That's
the thing is, you've got graduations, you've got banquets, you've got, sporting events. Like, I'm sure, especially if you have kids, there's a million things to do in this month. So have fun.
Mm-hmm. Firehouse Subtext, the hour, 803-404-6100. We appreciate it like always. We now learned about Maycember.
Now we know.
It is good to learn stuff. I'll check it out. I'll see. I feel like I've lived that type of thing.
Well, your children are grown now, so probably don't deal with it
mostly.
quite as much.
I got a high school junior and a college sophomore, so we're getting there.
You got one left in high school.
Yeah.
Mine's a senior moving himself along to the wonderful world of college. He's going to graduate in June.
As far as you know.
See, that's crazy to me. If they go into June, we were always done before Memorial Day.
Yeah, see, and up north there where we's at, it's June. He'll go. I forget. It's like the first week of June or whatever. And then the real thing is you're off to senior week at Ocean City.
There you go.
You guys against Myrtle Beach here, right, Jay?
As far as you know.
Well, Jay didn't
I'm
participate.
not sure all of those statute of limitations have expired in South Carolina. We're a little more conservative down here, so some of those things run longer.
Oh, yeah.
So as far as you know,
far as I know,
we were somewhere in Horry County for a few weeks, a few times.
All I know is this.
And one time at Isle of Palms.
But I was telling Jay, my son looked at me after finding out all the rules and regulations now at Ocean City, Maryland. He's like, well, you old people ruin this for everybody. I'm like, not going to argue with you.
Yeah.
Not going to argue. Sorry, bud.
Had fun, though.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, yeah. The laws that were broken.
I don't know, but I'll just say this. God bless the owners of the Garden City Motor Inn, which is no longer in existence.
I was going to say,
but if you know, you know.
That sounds like about $20 a night.
Not all of us stayed there.
Right.
But a couple of people did go ahead and book a room there.
Yes.
And leave it at that.
Yeah. I remember the one.
But God bless those owners, man. I don't even know if they just basically took everybody's money and then went on their own vacation.
That's what they did. Oh, that's what they did.
You know?
They just left.
Like anybody in charge here?
All I know is the goal every year was to go to senior week and see if you could get evicted from your room. And you did as many things as possible to get evicted, because what you would do then, you would grab your suitcase, you'd walk the boardwalk. So you need a place to stay, and then your job was to talk to girls who would then let you stay with them.
Smart.
Savvy. You can get evicted easy, man. You can start lighting fireworks in the room or something. I mean, this is not hard.
I'll tell you, there was a place we stayed at Ocean City, Maryland, on the boardwalk. We walked in, and there was a list of 10 rules. You want to talk about low-hanging fruit?
Don't post the rules.
They posted the rules.
No.
So you know what we did?
Yeah, you break out
all of them in order.
It's like a
Do you want to go 1 to 10 or 10 to 1?
It was in order. So
that's
anyway.
An easy dare.
Oh,
that's like leaving a piece of meat out in front of your dog.
We just sat there. Everybody got quiet and looked up and went, Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Challenge accepted.
Sure.
Here we go. The Bill Belichick stuff. I know you guys have talked about it. There's more stuff happening now. The family's jumping into this. You ever heard about the family?
Yeah, what's he doing?
Go ahead, Tyler.
His daughter-in-law is now commenting on it on Instagram.
For or against?
Against.
Uh-oh.
She's calling out Jordan now.
Well, she should.
Yeah, this thing is...
It's getting messy.
It's getting weird, man.
Well, I urge any of you that want to go to the Dan Patrick Show YouTube page, look at watch or listen to yesterday's interview. So, again, Wednesday's interview, Luke DeCock, columnist, Raleigh News and Observer. Fantastic.
Yeah, it was
fantastic. 10 minutes.
It was good.
It's just, this thing is just, wow.
Well, again, Bill, blink twice if you need help.